Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would appreciate it if whoever pops in chat first, if you tell me whether or not you can hear me okay, that would be fantastic. I just want to make sure that everything is going fine tech-wise. We did have to mess with some tech stuff the other day. It's actually going to be an exciting stream. We do have SFO, Dev, ShortFatOtaku, who's going to be joining us as well. And why is my camera so far off? Here we go. And hold on, give me a second. Thank you. Cool. So, yeah. So if whenever whoever shows up, if you could just pop in and say in chat that you can hear me, that would be fantastic. We got our invites out to our other hosts, so we'll be waiting for them momentarily. So just let me know that you can hear me. As far as just what's going on from my perspective before anybody else shows up, I think Stephen Bennell II is on the warpath. Audio is fine. Excellent. He's on the warpath. He's obviously upset about the election. He's very pissed off about the election. And I just don't understand his game plan at all, pretty much. So he's like, yeah, Democrats need to giga chat it. They need to be more unhinged. They need to be more aggressive. They need to do this. They need to do that. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's why you lost by a very slim margin. So I don't know if that's the great thing to do. Christian Valera says Hunter Pardon was abuse of power. Don't care. Dev was right. Yeah, I'm with you there. But believe it or not, Dev was actually part of the reason why he was quiet during the debate was because he agreed kind of with Destiny that when you have social norms that have been violated by one party, you have to violate those social norms at minimum in order to try to get them to understand the reason why those norms exist in the first place. My frustration with that is like, I don't think that sweeping or covering for Hunter Biden's corruption does anything to forward the Democrat Party as the good guys, right? And that's what happened was they were like, well, we've been the good guys for decades. And I'm like, I didn't even have time or the willpower to try to address all the things that I could have brought up that the Democrats have done incorrectly, because I didn't want to get into like nitty gritty of like Hillary Clinton or Obama or I don't know, Kerry or whatever. But, the truth is that like nobody should be thinking of themselves as the good guys in politics. Okay. Politics is about who wields power. Okay. That's what it's about. So oftentimes, quote unquote, good guys will do horrific things to keep and maintain power. So it shouldn't be this like black and white G.I. Joe fantasy baloney politics where it's like, well, everything that my team does is actually good and based, and everything your team does is cringe. It's like, I get that's how the electorate sometimes sees things. And I'm sorry if I'm in your face, but I'm trying to tighten up this camera so it doesn't spin on me. Unfortunately, I think that's the best I'm going to be able to get before the show starts. But anyways, if you're thinking like my tribe does nothing wrong and the other tribe does everything wrong, then it's like, all right, so you have a childish understanding of politics, understood, or you're willing to play into a childish understanding of politics. So yeah. And most Dems are calling the pardon an abuse of power, which is good. Yeah, Christian Valeris, I agree with you. I think the more normie take is that it's not good. And I do understand. Oh, here's Brianna. So let's get her in. Hi.
Dude, you kicked so much ass last night. Congratulations.
Well, I was kind of worried when you sent the first text message. And by the way, let me know if you get any echo. My headphones are being garbage right now.
Yeah, it's a little bit. We'll deal with it.
Well, if there is an echo on your end, I can try to mess with my headphones.
Amazing. No, I thought you did so well. You should be so proud.
Well, thank you. I normally don't. I don't become proud when I'm cussing out people that I typically like. However, I do understand what you're saying, where it's like it was a contentious debate. These guys are Hutch is a big player, Destiny's are big players. They like to throw their weight around, all that kind of stuff. And I wasn't taking their flack, and if anything, I gave them some flack, which was there were some funny moments. Like for instance, I don't know if you caught the broom.
Yeah, I've never
I literally
seen you
took
get
the
so
broom
angry.
and I
yes,
swept it across the screen. That turned into a meme on DGG.
Started talking about killing you. That was hilarious. Like, you're 7 feet tall. He'll make you a bigger target.
Well, I wanted to with that, so I guess we should catch people up, and we already got a donation. So Niz for $10, gone busy as editing. Hope you had a happy birthday, though. Have some parasocial bucks. Thank you, Niz. I do appreciate the donation.
Thank you so much. You're not just Connor's hero. You're my hero too. So thank you.
Oh Well,
much.
thank you. Well, so let's catch chat up on what happened last night, because it was an eventful evening. So unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on whether or not you enjoy that kind of content, I did do a panel last night with Destiny, Hutch, Quibbles. I'm trying to think of the other gentleman, Tuna Chip, and I think that's really.
Dev,
and then Dev was there.
Dev.
Yeah, but Dev was quiet the entire time. I'll give him flack as soon as he shows up. But anyways, the point is that we had a debate about the Hunter pardon, and Destiny and Hutch's perspective is like, oh, this is a nothing burger. Don't worry about it. You know, this is not going to affect the electorate. It's not going to affect anybody's opinion.
Republic on fire. Yeah, the answer to them doing bad stuff is we do bad stuff too. Just don't worry
and
about it.
that's what I didn't understand. Like, if you were doing bad stuff to a higher, more noble end, like if you were violating a norm or a rule or a principle in order to, like for instance, if they said that Joe Biden temporarily expanded DACA, right, in order to get as many people under this umbrella as possible, therefore less immigrants would be deported, and it was a controversial federal rule that nobody knew whether or not it would be approved by the legislature, right? I would see you violating a norm or a law in order to achieve a higher end. But the higher end here is sweeping for your son.
Yes. That's all it is. There is something wrong with Democrats, and like Destiny's talking about it, like, and I just want to preface this, like, if DGG is watching this, don't want stuff with Destiny. I don't want drama with DGG. I just have a difference of opinion on this one issue, and that's it. So I don't want to say spicy stuff in the Reddit, but it's like what is at stake here? It's just like it's what, like, it's a former druggy son that tried to like the stuff he did, like trying to peddle influence. That's the reason this pardon is so broad over such a wide period of time, because it's obvious he probably.
Well, hold on. Now I feel gaslit in the opposite direction, because whenever I have this conversation with a Democrat, they're always like, no, he wasn't peddling influence. It was always just a coincidence that he was in Romania, in China, in Ukraine, and he just happened to take hundreds of thousands of dollars from foreign oligarchs that then got laundered back into his family.
That does not pass the smell test, in my view.
Well, so that's my thing, is like, to me, it feels so obvious. But I swear to God, I've been in these rooms for the past year, and it does feel like gaslighting, where they're like, well, this is all legal, so don't worry about it. And it's like, why is that? Why is that what you're saying?
Totally legal, bro. Don't worry about it.
Okay. All right. Well, so sorry. It's simultaneously refreshing and terrifying to hear you say that, because on one hand, it's refreshing to just hear somebody be like, yeah, he was probably peddling influence. Versus now I'm just like, I need to check myself, because I've been fighting Democrats for a year and they refuse to acknowledge that this is a thing. So hold on. So Caratoni, also Gray Jedi on YouTube, has an interesting question, which I think was part of the debate. And I kind of want to highlight it too while we're waiting on Dev. So how do you deal with the fact that Dems will always lose if they are the only ones calling their side out, while people like Trump can do no wrong? I don't agree with this characterization at all. I don't think that Obama's victory was reliant on the Democrats like compromising their morals. I don't agree that Hillary Clinton would have been helped by Democrats compromising their morals more. I don't think that a future Gavin Newsom electoral bid is going to be helped out by Democrats compromising their morals. If anything, it's going to hurt you worse, because then what has already happened, but it will worsen if you embrace it, is people will say, well, look, they're both corrupt, and so as a result, I don't care. And then if you look at the numbers too, the Democrats, they largely showed up, but 5 to 6 million people didn't.
Yeah.
That's not, right. Oh, I like Trump. That is apathy.
It's a pox on both their houses. So hold on. I feel like we're jumping all over the place here. So I want to really just narrow this down and say, so let's start at the beginning. Let's assume no one watching this saw anything. You got in this debate last night, and I really like you were fired up, Connor. I've never seen you. You were so polite, but you know that old phrase like be polite and professional never you mean have a plan to kill people? Like this was the debate where you had a plan to kill people metaphorically in a video game. And like I've never seen you
Well,
just lose your shit. Everyone on that panel, Wick is telling you to calm down, Hutch is telling you to calm down. I think Deb told you to calm down at one point. It was you got really
well,
heated.
you can
Yeah.
get a little bit too crazy with it, but I'll tell you that was my reputation in Twitch and YouTube politics, particularly the panel scene, like the Hippy Dippy and the Reverie Roundtable. Is I would be as charitable as I possibly could be, but then I would lose my mind and get pretty angry, especially when people were saying insane things. However,
When are we going to
I'm
lose
not going to
your
lie.
temper on me on the show?
What's that?
When are you going to lose your temper on me? Let's make it happen.
Yeah, you're gonna have to jump the shark so hard in order for me to freak out.
Yeah.
The the thing about it is though is that I watched the debate. I actually watched the Tale of Twin Rabbits debate. There's a regular in our chat named Weld QC John who actually donated a decent chunk of cash in order for me to go watch it. And what I realized was I was being nice and polite past the time when it was appropriate to be nice and polite. And also I was steel manning their own arguments that they hadn't even made yet. I gave the opposition better arguments than they even had. And so I was like, I was kind of watching my past self and I'm like, I like that part of me that I like to be charitable to people. I like that part of me that likes to be kind. Sure. But that's not appropriate during a debate. You shouldn't be helping the opposition.
So again, I don't want shit with Destiny and DGG, but the position that he was bringing to that argument was basically, look, I fucking hate the Republicans. Tough shit. They're terrible people. That justifies anything that we do. And you kept going, like, you brought a really good point. One that I personally am going to use a lot when I do TV and stuff, which is like, look, these elections are run on the margins. Everything counts. We lost by 1.5%. So we need to be doing everything we can to appeal to the middle. And this message that, like, the Democrats stand for open corruption is just a losing issue and taints the trust in our party. That's 100% true. And then what is, respectfully, Destiny coming back with? It is this, just nihilistic. It's exactly what he did on Piers Morgan. And again, I like Destiny a lot. I usually like him on Piers Morgan, but that one episode where he was justifying that person was killed in the attempted Trump assassination, that was really difficult to watch, to be really honest with you. And this was more of that.
This isn't a criticism. This is like an observation.
Yeah,
I think he's burnt out, and so I think there was we'll call it like the lefty arc or whatever, but it was before the lefty arc where he was buddies and pals with Vosh and Hassan and all that kind of stuff, and he would extend them. I'm sure in his mind they might not have seen it this way, but he would extend them wild amounts of charity and let them get away with rhetorical things that he would never let anybody else get away with, right? Yeah. And so after a while, he got frustrated, he got pissed off, and then he said, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go scorched earth on you guys. And then he had a couple of debates where he annihilated these people, and then they didn't want anything to do with them, right? I would say that probably the same thing has happened over the past couple of years, where I think that, again, not just trying to lay my cards on the table, I think his friendship with Lauren Southern, and I am going to call it a friendship because I do think that they had an emotional connection.
Lauren's great, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I think it helped him, kind of deal with some of the stronger arguments that came out of the dissident right. I think part of the reason why he was so charitable to Nick Fuentes wasn't because it was just good for the metrics. I think it was also because he was really trying to understand that side. But I think he got sick of it. I think he got sick of it because there was no reciprocity, right?
Yeah.
No matter how charitable he was to the far right, he was always a blue-haired, cuckold, progressive, libtard moron who didn't understand anything.
But this is what, I'm not talking about Destiny here. I'm saying this mindset, this is what they don't understand. You're not civil and you're not good faith and you don't act with integrity for the right. The fringe right, like, I'm sorry, I know we've got Republicans in the chat. We can be friends. I don't vote the way you do. The fringe right is unreachable and they're going to justify everything they do. You do it because the fastest growing electorate in the middle are independents, people that are sick of both parties and are looking for solutions in the middle. That
Well,
is why you do this. It is a
and
it's not just the right thing to do, it's pragmatic electorally.
and that's what I was kind of arguing for. Although this might be something that you and I just talk endlessly about to each other, and then we're validated 2 years late down the road, but nobody listened to us. What I would view kind of like the rational center, I guess,
Yeah,
like the moderate center. It's going to be hard to break the binary. You're still a Democrat. I'm still a
I am a
Republican,
Democrat. Yeah.
right? However, we can make choices of lesser of two evils. So, for instance, let's say Hassan Piker became like the head of the Democrat Party. Now, you might still philosophically be a Democrat. There might be
Wouldn't
like
vote for it,
80% of Republican policy that you disagree with. But if Hassan Piker was promising to, I don't know, ship arms to, Hamas, which, by the way, I know this is all fairy tale. I'm just using it as an
yeah.
example. So in that case, the pragmatic choice might be to temporarily vote for the moderate Republican candidate over the far left person who's seeking the destruction of the state of Israel.
I would
And
100%
and
vote
you're going to have to
for
pinch your
Mitt
nose to do that.
Romney over Hassan. That wouldn't even be a question. Yeah, 100%. But
Well,
this is the thing, though, Connor. Look at Barry
I am
Weiss.
going to plug in my headphones, and I might
Go
have
for it.
issues listening to you, but
Go
if I
ahead.
will, I'll just repeat it.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, like Barry Weiss in Free Press, like this is a very centrist, moderate point of view. Look at the people, the social media accounts that are growing right now and have influence. This resistance 2.0 slop, it's getting the same yes queening from the Democratic base, but it's not doing well. It's not escaping that. The only part of the media that's doing well right now is the one that's centrist and is truly independent and is thinking about this stuff objectively and is like giving someone analysis about this like fray. So I don't think you and I are preaching to the choir. I think that America has changed. I think a lot of people are just sick of this insanity both ways, which is why like I'm done with the progressive fringe. And I think most people are like us, Connor. I really believe it.
This is the challenge then. The challenge then becomes, so there are people who have already capitalized on this market, right? And I would say that's trigonometry, Tim Pool, the
Yeah.
people who have said like, oh, or like Dave Rubin, like I'm a liberal or I'm a lefty. But then of course, like all of their contrarian thinking, and I'm not saying like every single time and every single character I'm talking about, but oftentimes what happens is that contrarian thinking automatically leads to a Trump electoral choice, right?
Yeah,
So they're like, oh, the left has gone too far, therefore I really hate to do this. It's like the meme of like the person like shaving their head and getting tattooed with a swastika. Like, I really hate to do this. You just forced me to, and then they end up voting Trump. And it's like, no, that's not that feels like a pretty low IQ reaction to what's going on. So the question is, how do you break into there where you're like, hey, like, yeah, sure, the left's gone crazy on a few things, and yeah, sure, they might not have earned your vote, but look at all this crazy stuff that the right wing is doing, and that needs to be called out too. And that feels like a lonely position.
So, but this is, you brought out trigonometry. This is what I don't understand. And oh God, I hope this doesn't get clipped. But like Destiny has gone really, really hard at Constantine lately. And look, cards on the table, I would say it's Constantine's face, who I consider him a friend. I like him a lot. I do think he has a real tendency to lean right wing a little bit, right? That's not to say that he doesn't have a lot of left-wing like sympathies and views. And I do think if the Democratic Party were to change, particularly around immigration, I can very easily see him voting for this. But this is my criticism of where I see Destiny right now in this deadlock. Like the truth is, there are a lot of people in England and America that think like Constantine does, right? They're tired of the identity politics, and they're sympathetic to a lot of democratic stuff, but they just don't like this version of the party. What we need is an answer to reach out to people like that, because there are a lot of Constantines out there. And instead, the conversation is so much about, oh, he's a right winger. Oh, he's a right winger. Oh, he's evil. Oh, he said this. And it's like, I agree with you. He's a little bit more right wing, but he represents a constituency. So what the fuck are Democrats going to do? That's the only answer that matters.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and to answer that quickly, I don't understand how like being more aggressive, more unhinged is the answer, right?
Right.
So
That's
for
not,
instance, it's
yeah.
like, oh, Trump people are hypocritical about when you make fun of people getting injured or killed. Therefore, it's okay for me to make fun of people more aggressively when they get injured or killed. And it's like, no, you don't get it. That behavior turns a lot of people off. And so if you don't participate in it, then they're going to swing your way. Now, Dev is in the backstage. I'm going to add him and then read a super chat and some chat.
So just one other thing on that before. Hey, Dev, so good to see you. But I just wanted to say on that, like, hey, Dev, let's talk about some feminism since you're here. Like, I'm sorry, like women are held to double standards sometimes, and Democrats are held to double standards in the same way. Like Republicans is exactly what y'all were saying last night on the panel. That coalition, that party is fine with like telling some jokes about violence. It's not fair that we can't do it in the same way, but it's just reality. So like, let's just like not pretend that's not real. Like you can bitch about it, but it's still going to be true. How you doing, Dev?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, I'll just give me a second. I'm gonna send out that I'm here. Give me a minute.
No, that's great. I'm gonna read some super chats and also address that comment. Yeah, so here's the thing, and I think the analogy that I brought up is I'm gonna be very kind to last night's self. I feel like that was probably one of the stronger points I brought up, which it's like it doesn't matter if the other team has a stacked deck and they can beat you while making endless amounts of mistakes, and you have to play a perfect game in order to beat them. Then you can complain about the fact that it's unfair that you have to play a perfect game, but at the end of the day, you still have to end up playing a perfect game because complaining about it changes none of the dynamic. And so getting the LGBTQIA plus community to sign off on you, which by the way, there's infighting there, so that's difficult. Getting the Black community to sign off with you, that's difficult because there's people who support BLM and there's people who are very anti-BLM. Getting the Hispanic demographic, that's one of the things that was a lesson from this election, was that just harping about immigration is not enough to win Hispanics. And then when it comes to whites, I mean, we all love stabbing each other in the back. So the point. So the point is, like, you have to play a perfect game, and it's infinitely harder to build a coalition than it is to cater to a tribe.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, Dev, like, why were you so quiet last night? I kept waiting to hear from you. Wick kept trying to tag team you in. What happened, man?
There's too many people.
Yeah.
Well, just Dev, how it is, man.
But before I let you go, because I have a feeling that we are all going to yap for the next like 30 minutes, I do want to address the super chat real quick. So Big Hoff 98 says, I don't understand how any of these people have a problem with Trump. 1 second hand wringing about Trump asking if police can shoot BLM protesters. Nick's giggling because a Trump supporter got killed. I think this is talking about like the alleged hypocrisy for, Destiny celebrating violence. But here's the thing. One of the famous quotes from Steven is about like white redneck militias in reference to BLM, right? So the reason why I don't hand wring about his quotes about the firemen or whatever is because I laughed during the white redneck militia moment. I was like, base, that's funny. Like if we have militias running around, obviously I don't want them gunning people down, but at the same time, like if Kyle Rittenhouse happened again, where somebody was defending their property and then some people got shot as a result of getting into a scuffle for them, I don't cry as a result of those events. So I'm just extending that process to the other side.
That makes sense.
And then, sorry, we do have other donos. I'll go through them real quick. So Grassroots Hegemon, Destiny is essentially feral now. He doesn't understand his direct implications is that there's nothing wrong. You can't do it. A conservative is unjust, which is psycho. I don't believe that he believes that. I think that he's saying that aggressively as hyperbole in order to give the right wing a taste of their own medicine. Anybody else want to add to that?
Nope. I think that's dead on.
Okay. And then Sighton Gray for $2 says, howdy ho, friends. Howdy ho, back to you. And then Anatalope says, Dev is feeling very talkative tonight. Well, we're going to force him to talk tonight because we had him on. So thank you for the donation. But yeah, so all right. So now it's yapping time.
Okay, Dev, I want to understand, because I don't think you and I have like really disagreed on something, but I think we're going to really disagree on this. So I want to understand the argument that you were making last night on that panel, which is basically we need to double down too. Can you help me understand that?
Well, when it comes to the idea of having a set of rules that everyone abides by, we have these things because they're more objective than just any one person's whims, right?
Okay.
Regardless of what the rules are, if everyone's held to the same standard, then you at least know how to play the game, right? If one side flagrantly breaks the rules all the time, then you cannot, like, there's a contract there. Both teams in the game agree to play the same game. If one team is continuously breaking the rules and the ref isn't penalizing them, you're not playing that game anymore. You're playing a different game now, right? So because it's a contract, when one side has violated it, the other side is no longer bound to adhere to the contract. Now, if you think the contract's a good one, and the Constitution as a social contract is a good one, you do want to somehow bring them back to it eventually. But part of that process is going to be punishing them the way that they've punished you. And it simply has to be that way.
So walk me through this. This is sometimes, I think, the disconnect I feel between your points. So help me connect. I understand that as a philosophical ideal, and I can understand, like, in a game, like if I'm playing Monopoly with my husband, I can understand that. Help me understand how that would be applied to this situation with the Republicans right now, step by step.
Okay, so for example, I think it was unprecedented what was done to Obama's final Supreme Court pick in 2016. I forget the names of the people involved, but basically, didn't the Senate filibuster for like a year and like refuse to hear the guy out? You guys know what I'm talking about?
I don't. I apologize.
Oh, Connor does, but he's muted.
We can't hear him.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I'm trying to make sure that you guys don't have an echo. Basically, what's going on is that my reliable and loyal headphones that I've had for like 5 years have finally started crapping out, and I just don't have a replacement pair right now.
Oh, no.
So I don't want you guys to have to deal with an echo while I'm talking. But yes, I do know that basically what Republicans did is they held a seat vacant for a year, effectively calling Obama a lame duck. And then I think even when the inverse was the same, they were basically complaining about Democrats pretending to do it momentarily.
Okay, here we go. February 13th, 2016, Anton Scalia died. And then Mitch McConnell said that they will not consider any nominee put forth by Obama because it should be left for the next president. And that's, a year later. So they just held the Supreme Court pick open for a year. And then which was like ridiculous. That had never been done before, right? They basically stole a Supreme Court pick from Obama. The next time the Democrats are in power, they got to do that at least once. They have to punish the Republicans and say, but also make it clear why they're doing it. You have all of your talking heads come out and say, we are taking this Supreme Court pick from you in order to teach you a lesson that you cannot do this again.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying. So you're saying the next time we get into power, you would advocate a kind of hardball over some of these policies, like, Trump in his first term, not letting Obama get a SCOTUS pick, right? All kinds of things like that. So I'm with you on that. Where I think my disconnect comes is I don't see how Hunter Biden is the correct vehicle for that. I think that's my disconnect.
Well, if I were Biden, I would have stepped out and I would have said, hey, listen, I'm pardoning my son. And if you want to know why, here's a giant list of Trump pardons that he did in 2020. And if you want to talk about my pardons, you can talk about this one. That's what he should have done.
Okay. If he'd done it in that way, I could see the political value of that, honestly.
Well, I was kind of laughing because there was somebody who photoshopped a tweet from Biden where it was like, no one is above the law. And then somebody like quote tweeted as if they were Joe Biden. It was like, psyched. Like, if he would have sent that out, that would have been awesome. But the point is, like, yeah, like, as a father, I completely understand. It's your last surviving son. He's already been through hell and back. Some Democrats like to pretend that hell and back was a good thing, which also rubs me absolutely raw. And then the pardon comes down and it's like, yeah, it's because you don't want to watch your son rotting in prison for like a decade to 2 decades when you only have 5 years left. I understand that aspect of it. My problem is pretending that it's good, that this is like a Giga Chad tactical political move that makes Democrats look stronger. That's baloney to me.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's good. I think it's necessary. I think it's
In
better
what
than
way,
the
though?
alternative.
So if you want to argue the personal for me, I would argue I'll listen to the personal. But if you're talking about like the professional or the political, what do Democrats gain optically by pardoning Hunter, or what do they gain in the gamesmanship of politics?
Well, I think he had to do it in the way that I suggested. He had to say, "Hey, listen, I'm doing it specifically to show you why Trump shouldn't have done it, and now maybe you'll learn your lesson." That's what he should have done. But I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think the Democrats are going to do that. But
No, I think
Yeah.
I could get on board with that. That is something that has political salience, and yeah, the Republicans are going to scream from the hills and say like it's a pretext for all of that. But just starting the discussion, I don't like. I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I at least appreciate that argument. That is a defensible position, Deb. So thank you for explaining.
yeah, no problem.
Well, and I'm still working on headphones or whatever, but yeah. So actually, I don't think we ever actually did the summary, so I just want to do that real quick, just because we still have people coming in. So for those of you who didn't pay attention to Wick TV or Destiny stream last night, Dev and I were on a panel where we talked about the Hunter Biden pardon. I went a little bit hard just because Destiny was trying to act like it was Giga Chad that he got pardoned, and I wasn't really having that. And yeah, so some memes ensued.
Oh, what's up with this, Dev? I'm looking at your Discord right now. Everyone talking to counterpoints tonight. No mention of Brianna Wu. Oh, my feelings are hurt. Oh,
hold on.
I cannot believe I'm totally joking.
No, I thought this was on. I thought this was on Counterpoints' channel, not Counterfire. I didn't notice that part. Sorry.
No, it's a subtle difference. We share this channel.
I want to start doing Dollcast and putting it on your channel as well.
No, well, that would confuse the hell out of the algorithm. They're like, oh, a bunch of.
No, it's going to be Warhammer 40K.
Yeah.
And Brianna,
yeah, we should put it all. Yeah, Warhammer 40K, Dollcast, and political debates. That would be insane.
And Dev to bridge the gap there.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Well. So Big Hoff 98 for $5 says, anyone on the right has been considered Satan for decades. It's all just a knife fight. F the norms, but condemn, stop pretending they are angelic. Well, and so actually that is something that I would want to address. Last night, I didn't dig into it, but Destiny was like, when have the Democrats ever done anything like similar to the Republicans and all that kind of stuff? And it's like, you don't need to, if you want to talk about like legislature, or if you want to talk about judiciary, or if you want to talk about any of that kind of stuff, then yeah, sure. But if we want to talk about in general Democrat corruption or Democrat malfeasance, there's plenty of things to dig into. And here's the other thing too, is like they dismiss the things that are dug into. So as an example, I'm not bringing this up because I specifically believe it. I'm bringing this up because this is a talking point on the right. Okay. When the ambassadorship in Benghazi got attacked, they went back through the records, and there was like 6 months of the CIA contractors and the security contractors on the ground saying, hey, we are woefully underprepared, and if something bad happens, we are not going to be able to do anything about it. Then also on the night of, during the attack, there was the capacity of the United States to scramble fighter jets from Europe and have them hit a refueling tanker on the way, and then basically get to where they needed to be. And I think all in all, if they had scrambled and launched, it would have been 6 hours. Well, the CIA contractors were still in a firefight 12 to 13 hours later.
Yeah.
And so what effectively happened from the contractors' perspective is they were left to die, and it was only a miracle that they were not killed. So I get that might not be like a huge talking point for, Democrats or whatever to care about this minutia, but that was a judgment call made by Hillary Clinton. So you can't pretend that is angelic. And sorry, just last thing too, even her idea to support the rebels in Libya that destabilized that country and did result in tens of thousands of deaths was her idea. So, like this pretending to be an angel thing, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. And I guess this brings me back to your point, Dev. I mean, I get the sense, like, having gotten to know you over the last few years, like you're more liberal in the sense that you believe in institutions. So what is, like, if you were looking at the situation in the United States, how do we get out of this deadlock? Like, how do we start moving forward? Because it seems to me at some point we're going to have to stop, like, trying to be vindictive against each other. And I understand like the Republicans are way overweighted on one side of the aisle here, but like, what is your formula for taking us back from the brink? Because what I see from here is just this trading places back and forth of, Republicans hacksawing at Democrats and Democrats hacksawing at Republicans. I mean, what is the way to go forward and rebuild our institutions in your view?
Civil war.
Oh,
no, come on.
It's going bad for me.
You might have to. I don't know, man. Like,
no.
Sometimes you don't get to settle things until you've had your fight. And I think everyone understands that that's definitely
okay. First off, I am not fighting in any civil war. I'm not. I'm just not.
Like, well, hold on. So
I'm gonna come crash with you in Canada, Dev. That's what I'm gonna do.
So hold on. I actually do have a real solution here, and it is actually something that I want to talk to you offline. But it's the perfect question, so I'll give the answer as well. We talked during PV. And the election, and I was like, hey, something that I think nobody feels like they're actually connected to the federal government. They feel like the federal government is this ephemeral thing that just gives billions of dollars out the door. And as the average working class Joe, you just don't really see it, right? And so what I think would be good for Republicans or Democrats is every time there's a natural disaster, every time there's like a major community event or whatever, you have people go out into the community and do effectively disaster relief. But you also say like, hey, we're politically involved. These are our goals. This is what we're trying to do. Now, we're not trying to like convert you to our cause. However, like come hang out with us, talk shop if you're into politics, right?
Yeah.
And so, but doing that as a coalition, like coalition Republicans, coalition Democrats, people. So when you have these things like North Carolina, which is complaining that they've gotten shafted, when you have hundreds or thousands of volunteers show up into these areas in order to alleviate suffering, and they're saying we're part of the political process and we're trying to alleviate your suffering, that's the kind of thing that I could actually build like some faith in the parties right now. But what I see that a lot of people stand to profit from the tribalism, and therefore they incentivize the fight.
I think that's really true. And I mean, Dev, sorry about my voice, coming back to what's happened on your channel lately, like you've had some really smart takes that have really run you afoul of the fringe on both sides, like starting with the, was it the HPV virus thing or the thing about basically be less of a whore? Like that video got you into a ton of stuff I completely agreed with. I mean, you've seen up close on your channel kind of the tendency to push arguments towards the extreme. Like, do you think there's a constituency for arguments that are more analytical or in the middle?
Well, firstly, I mean, it's not all just been poor Dev being attacked by extremists. I have put my foot in my mouth a few times as well recently.
Well, like what? What do you think you did?
Well, it's not political drama; it's personal drama.
Oh,
yeah. I'm currently in it with about 3 different communities over some fucking nonsense. But in terms of the political stuff, I think this doesn't go away as long as the populists control the right. It's as simple as that. Like there's and this is why I say there like maybe not a civil war, but maybe a civil war, unironically.
Somebody needs to win. Right.
Yeah.
Well, like you have to have a decisive victory. You can't have the seesaw back and forth, which this actually, the dono goes along with what you just said. Christian Blair says this both sides. Which party has a more radical problem, the Dems or the Republicans, and who is steering the ship? And so this is my diagnosis. I don't know if you guys would agree. I think that the Democrats do have a radicalism problem, but it's a potent but small subset that punches above their weight. Yeah. And so they kind of control like the talking points and the rhetoric and academia and all that kind of stuff, but they're not necessarily representative of the populace that votes for them. And then what I would say on the Republicans, 55% of the Republican Party is just MAGA. So not only does the rhetoric line up, but also the people line up. And so I would arguably say that it's almost a bigger problem on the right.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, right? If we're talking about like populism, yeah, on the right, they control the right in the United States pretty much. They don't quite control the right in Canada, but there is definitely a growing populist wing of the right wing in Canada. But even then, like, Canadian politics is just in general not as extreme as American politics, so it's not that big of a deal.
Can
We're
I
pretty chill
can I
here.
tell you? So one of the things that really frustrated the piss out of me when I was growing up was my parents were like, "Hey, Democrats, right? They promise freebies to everything, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to get all of the people who are working class and poor and just offer them free stuff, so they don't care about freedom or liberty or the Constitution or anything. So they just get them to vote Democrat, right? And the reason why we're Republican, and I'm talking about my parents, is because we believe that like you know all these conservative values. And also, we believe that the smartest people should be elected into office so they can help guide the nation into a good place, not what feels good, but what's actually good. But what I hate about populism is that populism is like, nah, whatever feels good. Yeah, like how can I please the most amount of people to become the most popular person possible? That's what populism is to me.
Just real quick, because this $10 super chat is from our friend Artemis. I don't know if you guys understood, but that stream went on for another 5 hours after you left, Connor. And
Yeah,
Artemis was a big cornerstone of it. It was a lot of fun.
Really?
I needed to go to sleep. Yeah, I had to go to bed.
was
I couldn't do
watching
anymore.
Artemis just like dropping dollars into that chat. I was like, Artemis must do something that pays him very well. Because just
Yeah.
at the end of it, like he must have spent like $300 on super chats. It was insane.
Yeah, he's Wick TV's Sake Tanuki. For those of you who don't know, Sake Tanuki is Vosh's like I don't know if he's still there, but he's one of his former Oilers.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but Artemis Fowl says, what Democrats gain from the pardon is Biden coming out and officially agreeing with Trump that the DOJ does, partake in political persecutions in the pardon statement. Guys, listen, this is something that bugged me about the debate last night. So last year, when I was having these arguments, and I know Pisco will deny it, but I think if I go back and I check his Twitter history, I'm going to find something different. They were arguing as institutionalists. They were saying like, nope, the DOJ, there's people who are appointed by Trump. There's people who are appointed by Democrats. You got to let it play out in the system. You know, there's no corruption here. And they were all saying this like when Hunter was relatively speaking getting swept for it. And then as soon as it flipped and he started getting prosecuted and catching felonies and misdemeanors, oh, this is a politically motivated prosecution. Everybody knows it's politically motivated, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I heard last night. And it's like, guys, like you can't hit me with this because you hit me with the inverse argument 12 months ago when the shoe was on the other foot. Why the hell would you expect me to accept this as an argument?
Well, hold on. I don't understand the DOJ being political against Hunter Biden when it would be Joe Biden's DOJ.
Well, that's another thing. So they would say it's something that Hutch repeated over and over again. Is that the whoever Weiss or whatever is like a Trump appointee. But here's the other thing. This is another reason why I hate this as a talking point. So appointments, right? What happens is the president of the United States is not like personally going through your MySpace and Facebook social media posts to see whether or not you're a good fit, right? What's happening is professionals around him are bringing them summaries of people who are going to be going to different jobs. And they're like, based off of this person's qualifications and this person's this, that, the other, we believe this person is right for the job. And it's literally just Trump saying probably just yes, 80% of the time, right? Because he doesn't have time to do all the research. So a specific Trump appointment is not going to mean that that person is a sycophant of Trump.
No, it's not going to. Yeah, go ahead, Dev. Sorry.
So kind of, but you see a lot of Trump sycophants out there, though, who are appointed by him.
Yeah,
sure.
It's kind of the bar. Like if you're working with Donald Trump, you know what you're signing up for, which is literally never critique him, and
But here's the thing: if you were talking about like a cabinet appointment, you're going to be working with him specifically. If you're talking about a judge, like a judgeship in like a circuit court that's 1,000 miles away, then you're not going to be working with him personally. This is part of the design of the system. So, for instance, like a lot of the cases that were related to Trump's allegations of fraud were dismissed by Trump-appointed judges. The reason why they felt comfortable doing that is because they didn't have a personal relationship with Trump and they weren't accountable to him on an individual level.
Yeah.
I recall reading one of the 4 cases, and I forget which one it was. And the only reason I remember this story is because the judge in question is this cute Latina girl. But basically, she turned around and dismissed the case, and now she's being considered for like some sort of position by Trump.
Oh, yeah. That was in like Miami-Dade or something, where she said, yeah, it was something. It was something prosecuting Trump in Florida for some reason. And then she said that the person that was bringing the charges didn't have standing and dismissed it, even though that person probably had standing. Yeah,
It was something
I
like
know
that.
that story.
And now it's coming out that she might be picked for something in Trump's cabinet. And I was
Oh,
like,
of
wow.
course. Of
Like,
course.
okay,
Well,
so-
see, but here's the thing is like, if Stephen came to me, Stephen Bennell II, Destiny, if he came to me and he said, this judge dismissed this case when the person bringing it probably had standing, and as a result, she is getting a job with Trump. Do you think that this is likely corruption and quid pro quo, even if it wasn't stated explicitly? And my answer 100% is going to be like, yes.
Right.
Like all the time. Like I'm not sweeping for these people. I'm not defending them because they're on a political binary. And that's what pisses me off about this entire conversation is the fact that when it's a political binary, like everything that the other person does is because of corruption, and everything because of everything my team does is because of nuance.
So I want to, Dev, if you're here, I want to rely on your expertise here. So when I think about my politics, I don't
have much expertise.
Well, I'm a classical liberal. So, and I understand what that means. Like you're free speech, like pro institutions, all those kinds of things. What is it like? We're talking about the problem with Trumpism is populism, and I agree with that. What like philosophically is populism? What are the goals of populism? Like, because when I think about populism, I think about like this impulse to set everything around you on fire. And I'm sure there's like a better definition than that. So, like, philosophically, what is the philosophy of populism, and why is it so structurally destructive?
So populism is it's basically the binary inverse of elitism.
Okay.
With elitism, you have
anti-elitism. Yeah.
So elitism, you have a ruling class that is in monarchist societies they're born to be there. In other society, but even in like democratic societies, there's still very clearly like a class of people that are from birth more or less oriented towards ruling the country, right? Like so you have like the Bushes and you have the Clintons and these families that have come up, right? And the issue with elitism is that it's very easy for common people to look at elites and say, they don't know how I feel. They don't know what my life is like. They never lived the way that I've lived. I'm completely disconnected from them. And so they can't understand what it means to be me. I can't really understand what it means to be them. And so they cannot properly represent my interests.
Right, which is, and then when you have a society and things like, the president's son profiting from his connections, it certainly adds to a sense of nepotism and law for one kind of person and no law for another. So,
you guys are cooking, but what you just said is so effing important, and the fact that I said that last night and it had no impact in the room whatsoever is insane to me. So my extended family, second, third generation or whatever, like I think my great grandparents were like Irish immigrants, right? And my grandparents were both military veterans who ended up getting the GI Bill. And then my grandfather actually went to UPenn. So he went to an Ivy League school, right? But he was like the working class schlub who had to get in on a scholarship, right?
Right.
But he was rubbing elbows with the right people. And so for me, I'm stuck in a stratified world, or I've been stuck in a stratified world my entire life, where I could be rubbing elbows with like the upper echelons of society, but they never really appealed to me because frankly, a lot of them are douchebags. But then also like the working class schlubs, they have all of their sins too. And so I don't identify with any of these tribes. But that's like the people at the bottom, the working class and middle class people, daddy is not going to get them a pardon. Right. Daddy is not going to hire high power lawyers to fight cases for a decade. Yeah. Daddy is not going to be able to cover up their crack cocaine addiction and then banging allegedly underage prostitutes. Those things aren't going to happen. So when Democrats, and specifically like DGG, when they say, oh yeah, Hunter Biden banging whores and making millions of dollars and not reporting taxes, that can be funny for a meme. I think that's actually repulsive to people who work 60 hours a week to make
100%,
ends meet.
100%. So, and I completely agree with that, Connor, and that's what they're missing. But I want to come back to this because I really want to deconstruct this. So populism is inherently destabilizing because it is anti-elite and it wants to tear down the structure, including meritocracy, right? Because the problem is a lot of elites understand things.
That's part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of negatives to elitism. I mean, I think anyone who grew up as a normal kind of center lefty in the 2000s had a very anti-elitist streak. The whole punk movement going back before that is very anti-elitist, and there's obviously problems with entrenched elites. They become corrupt. Like there's a whole bunch of problems with elitism. But one big plus of elitism is that these are people who genuinely do know how to rule a country.
Right.
Like they're not just idiots. Some of them are idiots, but they're not just idiots. And they're much more likely to know how to rule a country than your average Joe, right? It's an argument from expertise. And this is why, man, I recall during COVID, someone said that what is, to me, philosophically, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And it was, you have to respect our democracy and trust the experts. And I'm just like, those are two completely opposite things. Completely opposite things, because an expert is one individual that you listen to because of his expertise. Democracy is a mob of people who have no expertise, and you're hoping that that you get some sort of mob wisdom out of it. They're two different ways to arrive at knowledge, and they're completely opposed. But so elitism is kind of the argument of expertise. It is that the ability to rule is a skill like any other. You have to spend decades learning it. You have to understand how things work. And so to be an elite means to know how to rule, which is it's an expertise thing. Populism is the democratic thing. And for populists, because it's the inverse of expertise, it's the inverse of the expertise argument.
Yeah, you have like idiot savants, right? Like so for instance, like the Rich Men North of Richmond. I love that song, by the way. I think it's a great song. But the reason why, like a ginger working class man, like yodeling into the mountains of Appalachia, singing about how the DC elites have screwed him over. The reason why that was so popular instantaneously is because you have all the symbols of like working class struggle, and you also have almost like his talent is almost evidence of itself that there are like beautiful, intelligent, talented people among the working class, and they are oppressed by their elites. I think that's why that was like lightning in a bottle.
I think so too. Another great example of that probably is just JD Vance's entire career. Like,
True.
Like if you know anything about him and where he came from, he is not a guy who comes from riches, right? He is one of those. He comes from one of those working class families, and he kind of
he learned the game pretty flippin' quick, huh?
Did.
He did. But it's one of those things where it's because the elites and the working class have a different culture and a different lifestyle. They have different morals in some senses. It makes them hard to understand each other. And populism is definitely that expression of what the masses do and want and feel when the elite's goals are not aligned with their own.
Yeah. So hold on. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, just basically that I think the reason why a lot of movements, at least initially, try to align themselves with populism, because it seems like there's something that's just inherently moral there. Right? It's like, oh, you have an underclass of people who are being mistreated, and they have legitimate grievances. And so, if you're a good person, you will want to address those grievances. There is something moral there.
Hold on, but this cuts so deep for me, because this is literally what like I was instinctively taught to guard against, is that oftentimes the mob will dress itself in this like fake morality of like appeal to consensus, like, oh, so many people are suffering and they're all a part of our team, therefore you have to listen to us and all that kind of stuff. But what I was taught, because I read history as a kid and as a teenager and as an adult, is that like oftentimes authoritarian leaders cloak themselves in this rhetoric in order to seize power, and what they end up creating are often dystopian hellholes that were worse than anybody could have possibly imagined. And I'm thinking of Soviet Russia. I'm thinking of Maoist China. I'm thinking of the French Revolution and the Reign of Terror. So that's where, for me, it's like whenever somebody says like, oh, inherently, like there's a morality to working for the oppressed classes, I'm like, you're probably full of shit, and you're going to start guillotining everyone, including your closest friends, pretty soon.
Well, there is an inherent morality to it, though. It's just that it's always exploited by someone who's a dictator. Like that's kind of how it goes, right? Because they do have legitimate grievances, and they do have, like, it's
well, and often dictators are, if you were to think about it temperamentally, sometimes they'll be like temperamentally right wing. Like I think Joseph Stalin, as an example, if you were to like, I don't know, do Height's whatever analysis of like temperamental virtues, he would probably be like a lot of people who participated in the Soviet Revolution were probably conservative in temperament. However, they saw an opportunity for power, and so they cloaked themselves in the language of the left to seize power.
Okay, so let me get a word in edgewise on my own show. So, so help me understand. No. This is why you're here. So help me understand this. Like, they say reading history is like reading prophecy. So, what is a historical, like parallel that we could look to of populism, like rising up, being exploited by fundamentally corrupt rulers, and that movement dying? Like, what are the historical lessons we can learn about the failures of these populist movements that the Democratic Party can use in this moment? Yeah.
I'm
thinking of FDR right now.
Failures of populism. Let me think. I mean, here's the thing. Because when populist movements succeed, they're almost always taken over by a dictator, and it's almost always absolutely terrible. When they fail, they just kind of like fizzle out. There's not really much to them, because what happens is, I mean, after you left Counterpoints last night, we talked about the January 6th riot, because that was a whole big thing with Artemis. And
I saw the magnet locks meme this morning, and then I saw the clip. It was pretty great.
One of the points that I think Quibbles brought up is that when you do crowd control for a mob, you don't just directly clash into the mob as police. What you do is, you'll hold them back in some places, but you let them come through in others as a pressure release, and you try to disperse them down side alleys. And like, there's things you can do to stop a riot without just beating them all up. And and it's like you disperse the crowd, you spread them out, they get tired, it starts to get late, they go home, and like you can do these sort of things, right? So usually what happens with populist movements that fail, they fail either one, because the elites smarten up and give them at least some of the things that they want that are reasonable, or two, they get a populist in power that does not know how to run the government, and he's ineffective. He does nothing, right? That was a good chunk of Trump's first term.
Yeah,
and it might be his second too.
Maybe
that's what I'm hoping for.
I think Trump's going to be a lot more effective this time around, because I know
I do too.
But in his first term, he might have run businesses, but he had no idea how a government works. He had no idea what the fuck to do, which is why he was so ineffective for most of his first term. He did almost nothing. So I feel like a lot of populist movements kind of, even when they take power, if they're not absolute horror shows, they just sort of fizzle out, and people just kind of disperse, and it doesn't really do anything.
But Brianna, so you were asking for a historical example, though. What I would say, that I think that what Deb just described is infinitely more likely. That Trump he might be more effective than he was in his first term, but I still think that he's probably not going to be as effective as he could be, because he's him. And as a result, a healthy chunk of the energy is going to fizzle out, because it did take a lot of energy to get him into office 2 times. And I just don't know if the energy is still going to be there, and if there's going to be as charismatic of a leader to take the reins after him.
But however, I want to return to this point, though, because I agree with your assessment, Dev. And I think the reason is, I think, and this is the ironic of him being elected on a populist wave, I think the Republicans understand now how to control him better and how to appeal to his impulses. Like, they've got that down to a science. And everyone in the last 4 years of Biden, everyone, like JD Vance is a great example. You pointed out his bootlicking tendencies, Connor. That's 100% right. And I think so much of the quote unquote swamp has spent 4 years like sucking up to him, developing these relationships, telling him exactly what he wants to hear, that I think they will be able to keep this old man in like a dream state, and then they will be able to do what they want a lot more.
Execute their policies.
Yeah, which is
with
why
you.
I think this is actually going to look more like a normal Republican presidency this time around.
I completely
It
disagree.
might, but
I
You disagree?
hold on, before we
Yeah.
tangent, I just want to, and I have no problem. That's actually going to be a really interesting tangent. I do just want to bring up the early 20th century. So during the early 20th century, socialists were appealing to the disgruntled working class of the entire world, including the United States. Fascists were appealing to the disgruntled working class, including the United States. And it actually seemed like fascism and communism through Germany and Russia were like incredible threats to the mixed economy, liberal world order, right? But FDR is sometimes credited with saving capitalism and saving liberal democracy, not because he created a welfare state that effectively muted the economic complaints of the working class and the middle class, and then made fascism and communism less appealing. And so as a result, it was a stabilizing force. So there's plenty of like Republicans and fiscal conservatives who want to rip apart the welfare state, but what they might not be understanding is that the welfare state might be what keeps mixed economy capitalism alive. All right, sorry, I interrupted. So
no, I thought
you were in a tangent.
It was well said. It's just hard to go to mixed state economy keeps.
And we do have so actually hold on, let me shill. We have 160 people cross platform. Thank you to everybody who decided to hang out with us. I'm going to go ahead and thank the debate last night and Dev for our high numbers, but also thank you for all your donations. So be sure to like the stream. That way more people know that we're here.
See you pony up, buddy.
Well, he did do one. He did do one.
$10.
Well,
I think you could easily drop $500.
So be sure to follow the stream as well, or follow on Twitch, and then also be sure to subscribe or whatever other shill things.
$3,000 into this chat, I will give you the interview that you want for your Gamer Game book.
Well, so hold on. So Deb, do you mind if I take a break just to read super chats, because we are getting a lot of donos?
Sure.
Okay. So Silver Camaro says, people say that the internet is why people are hyper-partisan. I don't agree. I think it's because pre-2008, there's this idea people, if they worked hard, could make it, but that hasn't been the case, so people are angry. I do agree that the American dream feels like it's been dwindling for quite a long time. How do you guys feel about that?
It's dead for a long time? I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Is the reason why people are pissed off and everyone is so partisan is because the American dream and the statements about social mobility feels increasingly less true over time?
I think that's true. I also think like America is a lot better than I think people give it credit for. I think there's a reason so many immigrants want to come here, because this is a country with opportunities, and the system is broken in many ways. It's also there's a lot that's good about this country. So I don't want to like shit on America. Like there's a reason Dev talks about moving here from Canada, because America's awesome, man.
Dev, do you want to share anything before we keep moving?
I think I kind of gave an answer to this when we were on Wick a couple weeks ago. It was last week or 2 weeks ago. It was basically just that people tend to take, psychologically, they take failures harder than they take victories as they take them well. So I think that, there are some failures that are stacking up, and the wins, even though they might materially outweigh them, don't emotionally outweigh them.
The only thing that I'm going to add to this is the fact that looking at from the early thousands, the average age for a home buyer has gone from 39 to 56.
Jesus.
So I would view that as an unhealthy metric for our society. But moving on.
I brought down the average. Yeah.
Silver Camaro 78 says, Maxine Waters said to stock Trump cabinet members, never let them go to the stores or restaurants, and go to their houses and not let them get any sleep. Yeah, that's cringe. I think that's part of the hyperbole that's making the country a worse place.
Yeah, okay. I do recall that from back in the day. There was some, like from 2016 to like 2020, there was insanity coming out of even like institutional Dems. Like it was nuts. I think that's why the left lost so many people.
Yeah.
Well, and by the way, that was scoffed at last night. I basically said like the summer of love in 2020 was like you can't have the primaries in 2019 where everybody is saying the most progressive crap that you've ever heard on national television, and then have the quote unquote summer of love in 2020, and then have like 3 or 4 years of Trump and COVID, and then like Biden was like I don't know, he was like a band-aid on what was going on, and then just have everybody forget what you said in 2019. That's not possible. So who is it?
I think at least some of that is out of ignorance, and no offense to Destiny or anything, just that I've heard him say several times he did not know at all what really happened with Chaz, and I'm like, okay, well, I was hyper plugged into that. I know exactly what happened with Chaz. It was fucking terrible.
Well, even so, for instance, I'm not sympathetic to this argument, but I understand the logic behind it, which is Chaz Chop with the autonomous zone in whatever, was it Seattle?
Yeah.
Seattle. The autonomous zone in Seattle was like a few blocks and involved like a few thousand people, right? I understand an appeal to the smallness of the event because we have 330 million people. The amount of people affected by Chaz was insanely small. However, when you look at a local and state government effectively abandoning a portion of the United States of America to be taken over by radicals, and then the local businesses getting threatened by the people who had taken over the community, and then emergency first responders being denied access to that territory, resulting in provable like multiple deaths, like that should be alarming to anyone.
And it is 100%. So I want to come back to this now. You said you disagreed with my assessment of what the Trump second term was going to be. So tell me about that disagreement. What do you disagree on?
Well, hold on. Let's here. I'm gonna write that down. What do I disagree with? And I should talk about Chaz, and we should do the super chats. But I do want to talk about this though. So I don't want to get away with it.
What I'll do is I'll pause chats, and in another 30 minutes we'll do some more.
Okay, well, let me do Chaz really quick then, okay? Because I've listened to right wingers downplay January 6th by saying, "Oh, it was a mostly peaceful protest." You know, they're kind of LARPing using the same language that the CNN guy used to refer to BLM 2020. Okay, I understand the joke; it's a funny joke, but I mean, it's a joke that's kind of hiding something more serious there, right? And the idea is that, well, it couldn't have been a true insurrection attempt because there wasn't an army, there weren't that many guns, or if there weren't any guns at all, it was just a bunch of guys with sticks. They were clearly just like protesting and waving flags and stuff, and it was a riot, but it wasn't like an attempt to overthrow the government. You know, if they actually wanted to kill politicians, why didn't they have weapons? Like there was, and you know, when they say, oh, you know, 4 people died and one of them was a victim who was shot by the treacherous Capitol Police, and 3 of them were just fat police officers who died themselves because they were taking drugs or something. Like when they downplay what happened on January 6th. What they're appealing to is they're saying, well, if you add up like the material damage of what happened on January 6th, it was actually quite small. You know, there was some property damage, there was a few lives lost, but materially it was quite small. Institutionally, it was huge, and that's why January 6th is important, because it represents a loss of faith in the institutions of the United States. Because these people genuinely felt like they had to do this. So institutional damage is off the chart. Material damage, not so much. The issue is that when I hear people on the left talk about Chaz, they make the exact same argument in the exact same way with the exact same flaw. Because they'll talk about, oh, it was just a few city blocks in Seattle. Oh, a couple people died. Oh, it was property damage. But what actually matters is that you had the government of that city say, we're going to hand over governance of this part of town to you, to these anarchists, to run it how you see fit. The cops aren't going to go there anymore. The police, like the emergency services, aren't going to go there anymore. We are going to be completely hands off. This will be your experiment in self-governance. And it was a shit show. It was a complete fucking shit show. And to downplay it like it wasn't also an attack on just the sovereignty of the United States, because it was an attack on the sovereignty of the United States, but this time it was allowed by people on the left who did not want to stand up to like BLM rioters because they were the zeitgeist of 2020.
So can I make an admission here? I did not know about Chaz until I read Nellie Bowles' book, Barry Weiss's wife, her book, Letters from the Morning After the Revolution, and I don't know how I can like be an adult that reads as much news as I do, and it just completely did not make it. Like I was far more progressive back then.
On
But
the right wing, it was very highlighted.
did not hear anything about it. And I'm reading about this. I'm like, holy shit, this is literally nuts stuff. And I think it really like this is honestly why I was interested in doing a show with you in the first place, Connor, is like you follow these right-wing stories and know you're smart enough that you're taking it in good faith, and it's stuff I just literally don't hear about, like with the diet of the New York Times. I don't.
No, so what Dev said that is, I think, really important out of that like description was the fact that oftentimes MAGA, when it comes to January 6th, they will say and have said and will probably say in this chat tonight, well, look at the Summer of Love. Look at the BLM riots. There was like you're complaining about Ashley Babbitt getting shot. She was a Trump supporter. All the other people who died, it was medically related, and they were also Trump supporters. When you're talking about physical damage, there was almost no physical damage to the Capitol, and so they'll ignore. I think what Dev astutely pointed out, which is the institutional damage and the threatening of the election. But they will take a rawly material comparison of death and property damage from an entire summer of the BLM protests and riots compared to January 6th. And to be honest, like if you're arguing with those people, you can only appeal to institutional damage, because if you go to material, you're going to lose every time.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with that. Like you will. So
no, it hurts my soul.
Take psychic damage.
Yeah,
so hold on.
The reason I brought that up, the reason I brought that up basically is because I know that I've seen Destiny kind of brush off BLM a few times, and I've seen him say a few times, hold on, not really brush off because there was a Kyle Rittenhouse thing, but in terms of Chaz specifically, I've seen him kind of brush it off a few times, but I also seen him say a few times that he didn't really know what happened there. He doesn't really know what's going on, and I've also seen him say a few times, if it turns out that was revolutionary, then I would treat it just as I would view it just as poorly. And well, the truth is, it was revolutionary. It was actually an attack on the sovereignty.
Do you know what's funny is he gets a lot of grace from me when it comes to like criticizing Chaz Chop or criticizing BLM, because the amount of flack that he took for that right-wing dipshit militia comment was like astronomical. Like if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure he got like, did he get suspended from Twitch? So he lost like tens of thousands of dollars. That was one of the major things that caused his fallout with Vosh, which is another opportunity to make tens of thousands of dollars. So, and it's not all just about money, but I'm just saying, like, he took a political, optical, rhetorical clout hit off of that one statement. And by the way, from my perspective, it was the right thing to say at the time. But so he gets some grace from me for that.
That's so kind of you, Connor.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I guess beyond Chaz, you're going to ask me something, Brianna. What was going on?
So I was asking,
do you think she's wrong about Trump?
Like my assessment is with Trump, I think it's going to be less chaotic this time around because the Republicans understand how to control him more. And the irony of a populist, like being elected to smash the machine, I think the irony is the people that want to plunder the machine understand how to play his ego like a fiddle, and that it is going to be more peaceful, but even more corrupt. That is my guess what the next 4 years are going to be like.
See, I don't agree. And it's because I think this time he has learned his lesson. He's not just going to choose people. Like in 2016, he kind of asked some right-wingers, he's like, who should I have in my cabinet? And he chose what he thought were the best people for the job, right? Which is why a lot of them stood up to him in the end, in the final hour. He's not making that mistake this time. This time he's choosing Trump loyalists. This time he's gearing up to rip out the entire executive branch, replace the entirety of the deep state, which is literally just career middle managers that are in these various departments. He's going to start firing them. He's going to start replacing them with people who are loyal to him rather than loyal to the country or the Constitution. So I think things are going to be much worse because now he knows not to trust establishment Republicans, and he's going to be choosing people based on loyalty to him personally.
But you argued with me that part of the reason why Trump wasn't a fascist was because he wasn't politically coherent enough to care about being a fascist, right? So for me, maybe this is being too charitable, but I'm kind of hoping that he doesn't give a shit, right? Like I hope he goes after like one or two symbolic political wins, and then he's just like, all right, cool, I won twice, I'm gonna ride this out. I got my pardons. I can self-pardon before I leave. I can pardon all my family members, and I'm gonna ride this thing into the sunset.
He might. That's still possible, but for some reason, just the way that I've heard him talk, the way that I've heard his supporters talk, the way that I've heard his cabinet picks talk, it seems like they're gearing up for a massive purge.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really true.
That's why I think it's going to be worse.
Okay,
that's actually that's a very compelling argument.
Well, I'm
and now you're a lot more doomer about it.
No. I'm hoping he's too lazy for it. I hope that Trump is like, because let's face it, we were supposed to have a wall and Mexico was supposed to pay for it. He got cock-blocked on that. That didn't happen. We were supposed to end all of the jihadist terrorism internationally by bombing them all into the ground. He killed the Iranian general, and he did a couple of symbolic strikes back at people who struck at us. We were supposed to withdraw from all these nations. He was effectively undermined by the institutions that were. And so all my point is that like, he wasn't passionate enough to actually know what it takes to execute his vision in his first 4 years. So I don't think that he's necessarily intelligent or energetic or aggressive enough to get it done in the second term. Now, the problem might be that he might be appointing competent people to follow through on it. So if all he has to do is sign a piece of paper and then his vision is executed, that could be a problem. But as far as him having the tenacity to do it himself, I don't think he has it.
Yeah. Yeah, but the problem is, Connor, you've got like the, Project 2025, you've got the Heritage Foundation. There's an entire like mechanism of people that have geared up and are prepared to execute these plans for him. So I agree with you. The first time around, no one wanted to be on the Trump train. He just cycled through people. I think this time people are prepared for this. And I think, I don't know. I think there are plans that are ready to be put in place. They've fiddled his ego and back channel, and I think it's just going to go forward. So I actually, Deb, now that I'm thinking about it, I rescind my first take and agree with what you're saying. I think that's actually more likely.
So the question then is going to be, what kind of broad sweeping powers does the chief executive of the United States have in order to reform the executive branch? So for instance, like I think that there are one or two, it might be the FBI and it might be the EPA, who are not formed by Congress. They were almost formed exclusively through like executive writ. And so as a result, they could technically be evaporated or severely limited by an executive writ. So the question is, one, does he have the stones to do it? Two, is there any institution that would be willing to push back on him on it? And then three, do they have the standing to? Because for instance, like if let's say the FBI was established exclusively by executive writ and he can technically change it however he wants to see it changed. Well, how would a court stay that order if they don't have the authority to do so? That's what I would be worried about.
It's a completely legit question. I have no idea. I wish Pisco was here. He may have some ideas on that. Can't you like refuse an order if it's not?
But see, that's the thing. It's like you're saying refuse an order. Typically, what people would appeal to in order to refuse an order would be unconstitutionality, right? So you would say, I can't abide by that order because it violates the Constitution. Well, what if there's no Constitution? What if it's literally a 50-year-old executive order that established an office that you are now a part of? And the only thing keeping you from banishment or whatever is literally the whim of the president.
Thanks, Connor. Because I don't need to sleep tonight.
So it could also be the case that where William Barr, for example, told him, no, I'm not going to do this. He might have somebody in there who just says, even though it's unconstitutional, just say, oh yeah, okay, I will do it.
Yeah, and then let the courts challenge it.
I'll just do it.
Yeah, so and that's why the loyalty thing is probably the scariest bit of Trump's second presidency, is that if he's just selecting for loyalty to himself personally, then it doesn't matter what the Constitution says, because if it's between him and his cabinet members, and now that there's absolute immunity for that from the Supreme Court ruling, it's like, well, he can just kind of set things up how he wants, and they're just going to do whatever they like.
Well, and just to make sure you guys I'm not full of baloney. So the FBI was established by executive order, not Congress, and so technically it could be rescinded.
I did not know that.
But then the question is like, so let's say he says, "Oh yeah, we're just going to dissolve the FBI," right? How many FBI agents are going to freak out, protest, whatever? How many former FBI directors are going to say that this is insane and stupid? How many DOJ? How many this? How many that? And so the question is, does the FBI have enough institutional momentum to survive the chief executive of the United States saying they either need to be severely limited in capacity or they need to be dissolved entirely? And so I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
They won't. I'm pretty sure they won't. I mean, the way that I understand,
they wouldn't be able to survive it.
No, they just be gone. I think the way that I understand the executive branch is that the executive branch initially is just two people. It is the president and the vice president, and that's it, right? However, there's something in the Constitution that says the president can call on the advice of experts to help him out, and so that's where you get the idea of departments and a cabinet, right? And then you can start making you can start having committees under these cabinets, and you can start having various groups and institutions like the FBI. So, but it's all just kind of created at the president's whim and serve at the president's pleasure. So here's the thing: if for example, if hypothetically you had some sort of godlike Giga Chad president who could just do everything, you wouldn't need a cabinet, and that would be completely fine per the Constitution. If you could, if you just do all the jobs of every single member of the executive branch himself, then he wouldn't. It would be completely constitutionally okay to get rid of those jobs, right? So if Trump says, "Hey, fuck it, I don't want the FBI to exist anymore," it's probably going to happen.
Well, and bad news, I just checked out the EPA as well, because I had heard that EPA was also created by executive order. So that's another one.
True. Under Nixon.
Yeah. Well, did y'all have a tangent that you wanted to hit, or should I do super chats?
Let's do some super chats. God, I need some hopium here, y'all. Come on.
Well, okay. So here's my hopium. Get some multimillionaire centrist coalition wannabe donors to give us millions of dollars, and then we'll run centristy power broker coalition stuff, and we'll do disaster relief. And then you, me, and Dev, even though he's a Canadian citizen, next time North Carolina gets hit by a massive hurricane, we'll go out there, we'll chainsaw trees, we'll hand out water, we'll give out food, we'll be really nice to people.
In leadership, because that would be we can't have for this kinds of private efforts for 501c3. That would be, you cannot have him in leadership. So
he can be a volunteer.
You can do what I say, but we cannot have you running the show. You certainly cannot have access to the space laser.
He can literally be one of the meet and greet streamers who comes out to the event. That way people come out to the event as volunteers. He doesn't have to lift a finger. He could watch anime in the hotel all day and then come to the meet and greet on Friday night.
Do you get recognized in real life, Dev?
Only happened once.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I would recognize you.
Thank you.
All right, let's do some super chats.
Holy shit, this stuff. Like the last time we hung out in Florida, Connor, I was like, the first impulse was like, oh, holy shit, that's Counterpoints.
No, it is cool when you go to the event. So, knock on PV all you want or whatever, but actually like getting to meet and greet people who all had something in common, who were all interested in Twitch and YouTube politics. Literally, we would get done with the events and we would talk, or I mean, at least I would, and I think a few of the other creators were, we would sit around and just like talk with other people, because it's all people who share an interest in Twitch and YouTube politics. So it was very cool.
Okay, you brought up PV. I have to go on a tangent here before you do your super chats. Dev, where the fuck did this idea come from that I am paying you money to like control your opinions? Where the fuck is going on?
I tweeted about it a couple of times and said it was true.
I mean, you and PV, and then the streamers they brought on, and then it branched out to Adam and Sitch because Aiden Paladin accused Adam and Sitch of taking money when they didn't, and then it branched out to me because I'm friends with Adam and Sitch, and I talk to you, and so now the narrative is anyone who talks to you is getting paid.
That is true. I do have to pay people to be my friend. Frank gets the big dollars to be my husband, actually. So.
Oh,
but also
well, he
a lot,
seems like
a
a
lot
sweet
of
guy,
the.
anyways.
A lot of the very more right-leaning people who do not like me right now, like Aiden Paladin, for example, they're very conspiratorial minded. So this sort of stuff, they just eat it up.
So the idea is you talk to me, so I am paying you money for what exactly?
For being vaguely apologetic about some left-wing things some of the time.
Yeah.
It's literally that.
It's literally
that. No, I swear to God, I'm not trying to be rude or mean to any contrarian person, but the contrarian thinking this is a personal opinion, okay? Dev is a part of a generation of streamer that was anti-SJW, and there was a destiny for those people. Those people either quit making that kind of content, and I'm thinking about like Armored Skeptic, for instance. He just quit making that kind of content, or Chris Raygun, right? Or they jumped into a contrarian phase where now they're like neo-monarchists or like MAGA or whatever, right? And so Dev, in my personal opinion, he basically just stayed where he was and continued to criticize both sides. But because he didn't tribally pick an allegiance, that's almost a betrayal in and of itself.
Yes, definitely. That's 100% what happened. Well, no, it's like 75% what happened, because 25% of it is also me being retarded. Because I definitely I definitely went after some of these people and like kicked some hornet's nest and made fun of them. Like, it's also just me, but a lot of it is definitely a sense of betrayal.
But
but it's a betrayal for not making the choice.
So it's considered a betrayal because what? Like, you still have issues with identity politics, but you critique the right wing sometimes? Is that the betrayal?
Yes.
So
that's my personal opinion too.
That's what
honestly, it's legitimately insane to me. I will get into a Twitter battle back when I was still, mutuals with Adam Friended or whatever. And I would get into a Twitter battle where I'd be like, hey, this is why you sweeping for Trump is dumb for this, and this reason. And if he replied and gave me like reasons why he was like, okay, Trump is dumb for this, and this reason, but this is why progressives are and Kamala Harris suck even more, there would be people furious at him, like half a dozen to a dozen people, not because he was apologizing and defending Trump, but because he wasn't defending Trump enough. Yep. And that's where I was like, holy shit, bro. Like, how did you attract these people to you?
Yeah. Yeah. So
do they actually believe this stuff? Do they actually believe it, or are they just LARPing this?
No, I think
they believe it.
I think they genuinely believe it. Yeah. So
they literally believe I'm paying you money through PV, not worked with for over a year,
to have some lefty takes.
Yeah.
That's like insane.
So if you look at the trajectory of my channel, right? Because in 2014 I did the Gamergate stuff, right? And the Gamergate stuff, I like there was a harassment side to that, but every single major face in that movement on the pro Gamergate side, with the exception of Ethan Ralph, they were all interested in ethics, and we all made videos about ethics. We talked about the ethics.
So if I go back and watch those videos, am I going to read some mean stuff about me?
You might actually, but they'll probably be. You might see me being snarky for sure. It's very possible. It's very possible.
No.
It was a decade ago. We're all almost 40.
No, you may have said something bad about me 10 years ago. I can't believe this.
Well, I recall, I think in DMs, I sent you an article that you had written in 2015. And I was like, this is the craziest, most far left, insane. Like, what were you thinking at this point? What were you thinking? And you looked at it and you're like, I forgot that I wrote this.
I was super high. Look, I just watched a video this morning about all those chicks that got in the Nexium cult. And I'm like, yeah, that's how I got into SJW 2010s. And then Aeneas Sarkeesian comes along with the brand and puts it on your body.
So I did the Gamergate stuff for a while, and like
Yeah.
that lasted maybe a couple of years, right, before
Yeah.
it really petered out. Then a lot of those people, like Sargon, for example, is a great example of this. He moved into talking about just mainstream politics because there was this realization that a lot of the forces that were happening in games media were also the same dynamics and the same feuds were happening in all of media. And then we realized, oh, it's happening in a lot of other institutions. It's happening in academia, and it's also happening in real politics. So that's how a lot of these people transferred over to being political commentators around like 2016.
This is
right.
Sorry, this is a recent revelation. Pondering Politics. Love that guy. Think he's a great dude, whatever. He wildly overshot his orbit, but because he did so, he was able to get an infinitely larger orbit. And what I mean by that is that, like, we were all streaming, debating in Twitch and YouTube, political panels, whatever. But then he started talking mainstream politics. And because he like grinded it out in the algorithm, now that excuse my French, now that motherfucker has like 400,000 subs, 12 million views a month. He's talking to, huge, creators and pundits, and he's right up there. He's right up there. And it's because he didn't limit his orbit or his interest.
Do you think so? Like, I don't want to like.
He could have been like me, and he could have been talking about Destiny sex dramas and all that kind of stuff. He could have been doing that, but he didn't.
From my point of view, he has a very limited political palette, which is just yas queening the Democratic Party.
It is, and I do view that as a gilded cage. It is a gilded cage, but at the same time, that shit's fucking gilded, right?
I think it's a limited audience. I really do.
Hold on. I agree with you that every single, and this isn't, he does live stream, so you can catch all of his opinions being formed, in time, and you can challenge him, and he'll defend him and all that kind of stuff. However, I do agree with you that if you were to go for the formula, and this isn't trying to be mean, this is just trying to be descriptive. It's basically, here's 3 current events that happened today. Here's 3 10-minute videos about them. And here's the Democrat talking points about each one of these current events. So I agree with you there. Okay. It's fairly niche.
So let me ask you this stuff. If I pay you, like, how much money would it take for me to pay you to pick my own subject for a ShortFatOtaku video? How much would that cost me?
It depends if I like the topic or not.
Let's see. How about Brianna Wu was right about everything?
I don't know about that one. Where I was going with this though is that so for example, like Sargon got really big after Trump's first win in 2016. Like he was already getting big, but he really blew up, and then he got like knocked off of YouTube, and he had to like he formed a company. Sargon's in a whole bunch of stuff, right? And he's been around. He's gone through like 3 or 4 different whole arcs as he's like reinvented himself several times. But like he started in 2014, he was a very normal kind of lefty, like center lefty guy who thought that the identity politics was a bit nuts, and now he is significantly more right wing than he was, for sure, right? And it's a lot of it is because of that progression. Like I know that people say like, oh, Gamergate caused Trump to win. That's not what happened. But a lot of the people who were pro Gamergate ended up becoming pro Trump over time, and it's because of
they were influential.
Yeah, there's certain patterns that they saw, and then they started making content about them, and then they saw the feedback from where the right wing really loved them, the left wing fucking hated them, and then they would deplatform them, and they would like ban them from panels, or ban them from like live shows. I mean, I'm sure you remember.
Yeah, so eventually you're like, fuck these people. Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
Dude, the temptation to buy in tribally to one side and reaffirm all of their beliefs. And by the way, like, I'm not saying that that's every creator, but like, I'm just saying that there is always that temptation to just find a tribe and reaffirm everything they believe about reality because it's lucrative.
But this is where we're not going to get the Democratic Party and make it something we can win elections by just yas queening everything, which is what your debate was about last night, which is the whole reason we got here. Like,
dude, continue.
No, but I'm just going to say, like, I think you love the Democratic Party more. Like, it is so easy, like this non-binary bullshit. right? I watch so many Biden official fundraisers where they're talking about, and we're going to do rights for non-binary people and all this in Kamala 2.0. I saw so many empty statements about that. And yeah, it feels great to Yas Queen it and say that stuff, and there's no cost for doing it, and there's every cost for if you don't say that. But does it take the party anywhere that's actually electable? Like, at some point, we've got to have a real discussion about trans women in sports. At some point, we've got to have a real discussion about this identity politics that is just poisoning literally everything it touches. Like, we've got to change the party. And I think if you're a creator that just gas queens and justifies everything the Democrats do, I don't think you're interested in making this something politically viable.
Well, and that was part of my frustration with the conversation last night, okay? So I think that with the working with PV and being a year out from election or whatever, you can make a pragmatic or tactical argument for why you don't highlight certain dramas or fight about certain things, right? However, we are 2 years out from midterms and we are 4 years out from the next presidential election.
Yes.
So if we're going to figure out, and I'm saying we is, I don't know, just sensible center or whatever. If we're going to figure out what's going to work, then now is the time to have principled conversations, because you might have to make those tactical calculations as you get closer to an election, because you can't be constantly ripping into your own side 2 days before election. That's not good for elections, right? But if you're talking about like, what principles do we actually believe in, and or what's worth defending, and what makes these people even good to be elected officials or to be the president, then if you can't have the conversation when the stakes are so low, then you can't have the conversation ever. And I think that's what drove me. That's definitely part of what drove me crazy about last night.
Well, see, the thing is, I think the principle does have to be some sort of tit for tat thing, right? Where it's like, well, if you are going to break norms, I am going to punish you. Like, that has to be part of the principle. It just has to be, because otherwise,
I just don't think that this would be the principle worth. Sorry, I just don't think that this is the incident with which you would be like, oh well, I retaliated, ha ha ha. Like, I don't think that's going to be effective for anything with this.
Fair enough.
No. So hold on. So what's the principle, right? That's being violated. Is it the pardon?
When it comes to the pardon, I think people view the pardon as being corrupt, because it is Joe Biden kind of swinging for his son. When even if he didn't do anything wrong, there is an appearance of corruption there. And even if he would have been judged ultimately innocent by any court, he should have gone through the process. Right?
Well, right. So sorry, real quick. So if President Biden was to use a pardon inappropriately in order to hit something, then his son, again, I understand it as a father. However, pretending that this is going to be like the tit for tat that is going to make, and I'm not saying that people necessarily think this, but thinking that this is going to be the tit for tat that is going to wake up Republicans,
Yeah.
Fuck no. This tit for tat is going to make them triple down.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, oh, you accused Trump of being corrupt with all of his bullshit because of XYZ ABC reason. Well, I'm not going to read that because fuck you. You're sweeping for Hunter Biden, right?
Ultra quick note
that's being said.
Ultra quick note. Wick is on his way. We're going to reenact the whole panel and talk about it.
Artemis, well, he's here. I can add him. I do want to. I'll add him. I do want to hit some super chats and stuff, but I'll let Dev respond and add Wick.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Wick. Welcome back again.
And yeah, look, I was just in chat. I just finished my own stream. I saw you guys chatting it up. I was like, I'll see what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Don't mind me. You guys.
We weren't talking. That panel last night was fire content, dude. That was 10 out of 10. Invite me next time.
Listen, being transparent, okay? So what happened was this headphone wasn't working. And so typically when I'm getting headphones, I'm getting a lot of feedback when I'm interrupting people, right? But Destiny and fucking, like, I would start a sentence or whatever, and they'd be like, oh, and I'd be like, fuck you, I'm gonna keep talking. And so I just steamrolled for like the first hour. And to be honest, talk about dirty debate tactics. I just might lose my headphones for every debate going forward, because then I can't hear motherfuckers that are trying to talk over me, right? But then I did realize, like, hey, it's unbalanced at this point, therefore I'm going to slow down. And I think you guys, I hope you noticed that for like 30 to 40 minutes, I was letting everybody else
There was a point
in.
where I think you realized that you were kind of dominating the discussion, and then you pulled back.
And probably
Though,
not in a good way.
Like, here's the thing. Like, no, you coming in as you did, look, here's the deal. If you want more speaking time, give your balls a tug and get in there, right? Like, Dev, I'm looking at you, right? Like, all you got to do. I'm here for content as well as discussion. And if you only got one motherfucker who's talking, I'm okay with that, right? Like, a lot of people ask me, why do I do 6 people on a debate stage? It's redundancy. Because every once in a while, like, when the discussion thread between you and Destiny died down, one picked up between Hutch and what's his face?
Quibbles?
Quibbles, yeah, thank you.
I just want to say, last night, how many times did Wick say this? He goes, Connor, I love you, buddy, but you gotta let other people talk. He was just said that 5 times.
Well, okay, hold up. So again, addressing comments that I saw. So some people were like, "Oh, well, he's complaining about people interrupting him, but he's interrupting people all the time." Hold up, okay? So I'm not complaining that people are interrupting me. You can interrupt me, but I learned from Fanatic, okay? I don't know if you guys remember Fanatic, but he was somebody who did debates, and what he would do, which was so fucking annoying, but it was so effective, was he would just repeat his last sentence over and over and over again until the other person quit and allowed him to talk. And so what that tactic does, just sharing for the debate bros out there, is not only does it allow you to keep going until the other person quits, but it also allows you to not lose your place in your own train of thought. And so instead of trying to come up with like new banters or shit talking or a clever comment or this, that, or the other, you just never lose your spot over what you were talking about.
Okay, that's great. I want to ask you, Wick. So that whole panel last night, this is one of those panels. Like, sometimes you let people know which side you were on. Were you Team Destiny or were you Team Connor last night? Tell the truth.
Both. I'm gonna be 30 seconds here. No, it's true. I don't hold. Here's my take. I think that as a president, what Biden did was bad. Well, as a father, what he did was good.
Sure, right.
And I think that I can recognize that the harms it would do to the country, but I think that I would think less of him, and it might even harm the country more if he let his son become this human sacrifice to be locked away in a cage while the jackals tore him to shreds.
Sure, but that's not Destiny's argument. Destiny's argument was fuck the Republicans.
Sure, yeah. Destiny's argument was just wrong. But
okay.
Yeah. I'm talking about, like, I thought you were referring to, like, do I like the pardon? Do I not like the pardon?
No. I'm asking which team were you on?
Oh, Team Connor.
Team Connor. Okay.
I'm going to be honest. Wick, I think the best moments of that night happened after the debate panel ended.
Why? Do I have to watch this?
Maglocks. Oh, you got to.
You might need to watch.
Wick,
they were in my Discord for 8 hours until 3 a.m.
Okay, that's fun. Wick, I gotta give you a little business pro tip here. I went to, like, Dev is telling me about the stream, Connor is telling me about the stream, but DMs are blowing up about the stream. I go to myself, hey, Destiny's got the views. I'm going to go watch this on Wick's stream. And then I go over to your channel, and it's not fucking up. So my tip to you is...
that's not his fault. Okay. It's not his fault. Wick, I'm going to white knight you because I feel like you're getting dogpiled. So the debate was over. Okay, it was over. It was done. It was cooked. We were all tired. But what happened was, I think Destiny had a healthy chunk of people who were still watching, and he still wanted some free content. And so he stayed in the chat with Pisco and Artemis Fowl coming into the chat to have a conversation afterwards. Pisco even left. So the heavy hitters were gone after a while too. But Artemis was down to keep debating well into the morning. And I think Destiny just thought, hey, it's free content. And so, Wick and I were kind of joking in DMs. It's like, you got to make hay while the sun shines. So basically, like, Wick was like, I should have pulled a Hassan and left it up and just gone and like made myself
I had to walk
food.
My dog.
He literally should have.
Other things I needed to do, right? Like,
should have.
You should have just kept streaming.
You should have let your chair moderate.
I'm saying I can't watch the video, man. I did
re-up the stream though.
Put it up.
I did re-up the stream, like, eventually, like, after I did all that, and I saw it was still going, and they weren't stopping. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? Well, I'm losing out on money here. So I just re-upped another stream and hopped on and made a
Okay.
couple
Yeah,
hundred more
I-
bucks. Ah.
So what I recall is you came back for like another 3 hours or so, but there was like a missing hour or two in the middle of that, and that's all. That's on Destiny's
Yeah.
channel, so it's all there.
But the
like,
mag
there
locks.
Yes, so there was like a chunk of time for maybe like 2 hours where it was Destiny, me, Quibbles, and Artemis going over a whole bunch of January 6th minutiae.
No,
And
no.
it was crazy. It was so fun. It was actually a lot of fun.
So I need to share the clip that I saw that I actually felt was like fairly brilliant. And I'm not trying to dog Artemis. Artemis is, my friend too. And donates to the channel, which is always appreciated. But the maglock thing, they got into a debate about like how do these doors get unlocked? And then basically Destiny actually pulls up the footage from the day of January 6th and shows how the door got unlocked. And it was like this big like unraveling of the narrative and evidence thing. And it was like a really beautiful cinematic, like probably 4-minute segment.
The one that went
I'd check it
viral,
out.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Because so Artemis was making claims about how the doors they always like auto lock and they can't be opened. And then I started digging and Destiny started digging, and I found that claim originated from the Twitter account Swank for America, and it seemed to have otherwise been unsourced. And then Destiny pulled up the video of the guy like clearly opening the door. Oh, it was a fun time.
But there was some dramatic tension. Okay, the reason why there was dramatic tension was because for those of you who don't know, during January 6th, part of the accusation against or for the January 6ers is that the cops just let people into the Capitol, right? And so when it comes to the maglock doors, there's a clip that looks like a MAGA supporter who's already inside the building, likely climbed in through a window, and it looks like he's talking to the security camera, and then a door opens, right? But what ended up happening was they found a sign that says that if you need to escape in an emergency or whatever, press this door and, wait 3 seconds or something like that. And then after 15 seconds, the door will unlock. And so Destiny literally says, like, this just looks like a random MAGA guy ranting to himself. It doesn't look like he's talking to the camera at all. And on top of that, based off of timestamps, if this sign is accurate for this door, then around this timestamp, the door should become unlocked and he should be able to allow Trump supporters in. And literally, it was like 2 or 3 seconds after the door was unlocked. The exact timestamp that Destiny predicted was when the door became unlocked. So it was actually, it went from, and again, I'm not dogging Artemis, but it went from the cops buzzed in the rioters and I'm not saying Artemis is saying this, but buzzed in the rioters in order to give Trump a black eye to definitely probably not. Right. Logically, probably not.
It was a fun time.
That sounds crazy, y'all. Holy crap.
It was good. It was good content, fire content.
So what
it went for like 8 hours though.
What is your strategy for the Trump years? Like, I know what my strategy is. I'm not going to freak the fuck out over everything. I'm going to pace my ample sense of outrage. I'm going to pace myself like it's a marathon, and I'm going to save that being pissed off for the stuff that really, really matters. So, what is kind of your strategy for the Trump years?
Man, maybe this is going to sound silly, but I don't know if I have a strategy. I'm going to keep doing what I do. And I think that what I do is naturally just going to be helpful for this thing. You keep your powder dry until it matters, right? You don't just start firing off at everything, right? I think that one of the mistakes a lot of people made during 2016, 220 years is, this is huge. Everything's huge. Everything's fascism. Everything's a big deal. Everything's the death of the country. No, you take the issues that you have issues with and you keep that in perspective. Okay.
Wait. While you were saying that, I saw like a 1,000-yard stare develop on Brianna's face.
Look,
I'm sorry. I know. I'm flashing back.
I'm not trying to call anyone out here or anything like that. We've all done it. Okay. But it's this thing where,
Me?
yeah, no, not you, but just anyone who might be watching. Right? But, I get it. And a lot of people still do it. I don't think it works. I think we cry wolf way too many times. Look, if Trump does something that's good, I will call it good. If he doesn't, I will call it bad. That's it.
Well, that's what I pay you to do, right, Wick? With the $4.
Well, and obviously, and remember all the checks that we've cashed together for
Yes.
me to just
Yes.
make sure that
Oh,
I
fond
defend your
memories.
honor.
This is actually our PV planning call right now. We're having.
The sad thing is a lot of people.
Sorry, I need to I need to clarify. Okay, number one, Brianna, didn't you stop working at PV in like December?
Yes.
Was it December?
Last
Okay.
year, yeah.
All right. Listen, I've leaned into the jokes too, and then I screwed over SFO over here by basically making a couple of jokes on Twitter. So no.
Well, the same people. Hold on. The same people who said I stole the tooth money. Okay. The same people who said that are the ones saying this. Again,
Sure.
a
Your
motto
tooth is
I have
fixed.
going forward is stop listening to people who are always fucking wrong.
I just noticed that your tooth is fixed.
I mean, yeah.
How long has it been fixed?
You
About
don't
a
remember
week
this?
now?
This was a big day. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah,
No,
it
I don't
was very
remember.
weeks ago.
recently.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. We're moving into chill friend combo
Yes,
instead of
so
content.
I
So
like chill
wanna...
friend content.
So
Chill
hold on,
friend combo is okay. We're just going to start losing metrics, and that's okay. But I'm just telling.
Let's
No, we
I
can talk
did
about
have
the
something.
Wick, I hate
talk
you.
about.
Hunter Biden.
I hate your
Bad.
beard. Beard sucks.
Okay, so hold on. Let me. How about
Racial
this?
terrorism.
How about
No,
if
hold
I
on. What do you
go
think? What do you think
through?
about the other pardons that has been rumored that Biden has considered for Liz Cheney and other people that
Oh.
have you guys seen this?
I
This
haven't.
is
Well, he
huge.
should do Liz Cheney for
I have
sure.
seen this. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
That Biden is considering putting preemptive pardons to people who Trump, like Kash Patel and others in the Trump administration, have promised to go after. What do we think?
I would do Adam Kissinger
Yep.
and Liz Cheney
Yep.
for
I
sure
agree.
because they
I
actually
agree.
they had some level of balls participating in the January 6th
I
Commission.
agree.
So if they're going on a fishing expedition just to screw them over, then yeah, sure.
So, Dev, Wick wasn't here for your comment about how Biden should have handled this because this is answering his question. So, do you want to go
Yeah,
over
sure,
that
sure.
again?
So what I said earlier, Wick, is that what Biden should do is pardon them and then explicitly say, I am doing this because Trump, you pardoned these people in 2020. And you have to do the tit-for-tat thing. And you have to make that link publicly. So what he should do is he should say, listen, I'm going to pardon all these people who participated in the January 6th committee. And the reason why I'm doing that is because, Trump, you went and pardoned all the people who attended the December 21st conspiracy meeting, right? So you have to make it tit-for-tat. You have to lay it out. It's like, you broke this norm, so I'm now going to break the same norm in a way that is a congruent with how you did it.
Reciprocal.
Yes.
No, I disagree, and I'll tell you why. I think that I'm not entirely against pardoning Liz Cheney, et cetera, and all these things, but I wouldn't tie it to, well, you pardon these people. I wouldn't do the tit for tat thing. I would simply say the real reason, and the real reason that I would be tentatively, again, I'd have to think about it more. I don't want to die on this hill, right? But this idea that you have weaponized the justice system in such a way that we have entered a situation where I have to pardon them to protect them because you are going to do something manifestly unjust. You are going to target them because they're connected to me. You're going to target them because they went after your daddy Trump. And because you're going to do this, because you're going to weaponize the justice system, because it's not going to be justice, I'm going to protect them and put pardons upon these people. That's how I would phrase it. I don't know if that's...
I
do both of those things, in my opinion. Do both.
Yeah. I think the tit for tat, maybe it's like the entertainment factor is the reason why I think it might be cool, is because, for instance, like Trump literally forgave a hip hop artist for doing the exact same 4473 violation that Hunter Biden did. So I think if like Joe was like, hey, you forgave Big Unk the rapper or whatever for this thing, so I'm forgiving my son for it. And then also like with the tax evasion stuff, you forgave or pardoned Jared Kushner's dad for tax evasion charges in 2008. Therefore, I'm forgiving my son for this. Like, now I get it. It's going to seem petty. It's going to seem lowbrow. It's going to seem like it's debasing our politics. But at least what you're doing is you're bringing attention to the fact that this isn't coming out of nowhere. This isn't just Joe Biden being corrupt and sweeping for his son. There's also precedent here that Trump does play nepotism and cronyism with his own people and pardons.
Every time Connor says sweeping on the show from now on, I'm gonna take a drink, just so you know. I'm gonna go get some.
Well, he
And-
liked
and
that.
by the way,
broom, though.
there's a
Did you guys
GIF
see the
now.
broom-
I saw
broom
the
emote?
animated GIF of
Yeah, there's an animated GIF in Destiny's chat now where I took the broom and I swept it across the camera or whatever, and they turned that into a little emote in their chat. It's fantastic.
yeah.
All right, can we do super chats? Because I do want to be respectful of the people who gave us money.
We can, but I would before Wick. You should have. I was in the middle. I was making up a story. Want me to do
Sure.
that first? Okay, so.
Sure.
Because Brianna, you asked me about betrayal, the betrayal aspect of this, right?
Yes.
And I was going through Sargon Gamergate 2016 to 2020, right? So in like 2017, people who were watching me who were left wing, but from before Gamergate, stopped watching me, and they were very public and they were very vocal. There was some canceling about me because they said, you know, Dev, you're now talking about politics and you're not radicalizing leftward like we are. So we're going. And I had there's a whole bunch of leftoids who came out and canceled me, and now the same thing's happening on the right, right? So. There are two videos that I know of mine that I know right wingers absolutely love. There's the 3 forms of fascism. They fucking love that video because I go through fascist philosophy and I show how it's connected to socialist philosophy, and right wingers eat that shit up. And then the second one is the video about Antonio Gramsci, the Italian socialist, and how his ideas affected the civil rights movement and the BLM stuff and like a bunch of stuff that is contemporary to today. And they love those 2 videos. They say that, you know, Dev is one of us. And then I start doing videos using the same kind of analytical lens, but to critique some right-wing positions. And now I've backstabbed them. Right. And this is where the betrayal thing comes from. But my position has consistently been, I'm going to analyze these things and just kind of see where they go. And if it turns out that it's bad for the right or it's bad for Trump, then that's how it is. And there have been at least a dozen videos over the past couple of years where, you know, my audience has been in open revolt, and I always post the same I always post the same comment to them. I'm like, listen, I've said I'm a liberal this whole fucking time.
Yeah.
What did you guys think that meant? And it turns out a good chunk of them thought that I was dog whistling.
No, dude, Dev, literally the I'm a liberal but thing has been a staple in the left sphere forever. You got to think Dave Rubin, you got to think Tim Pool, you got to think even Constantine, which I know that we brought up earlier tonight. You were saying that you were criticizing, or maybe not criticizing him for leaning a little right, but he did a Twitter video where he was like, "Oh, you're calling me right wing? Well, fuck you. You know, I'm gonna vote for Trump anyways, dickheads." So yeah, like a lot of people think the I'm a liberal but thing is kind of like I don't know, like rhetoric that reaffirms their beliefs even harder because you're a part of a different tribe and yet you're coming to the same result that they are.
Yeah, that's all true, but the issue is that there's also something that's real underneath it that's not just rhetoric, right? Because when people say, like, it is kind of a meme, you know, the person who posts how I left the left, right? Like, it's a meme, and I understand it because some of those people never really were left wing. Some of those people are just grifters or whatever. But there's also definitely a group of people who have legitimately left the left, and a lot of it's just going to be social, right? Like they weren't extreme enough, so they were kicked out of their friend groups, and then as a result of that, they found new friend groups, and then as a result of that, they actually started moving more right wing because of those new friend groups, because a lot of politics is just social, right? So there's something true whenever someone says how I left the left or how the left left me behind. There's something that's real there that can't just be ignored. It's not only.
I know, but what frustrates me
hold on for a second. I will cop to this because I've gone through so many rounds of bullshit with progressives. Like my friend group has changed, and it is more people in the middle. And I think there's some truth there, Deb, just in the sense that if you've got one group of people over here, and they're like, look, you have to agree with literally everything we say on everything, or you're just the biggest piece of shit and we'll dedicate our lives to destroying you. Another group is people like Wick that you can have disagreements, sometimes very strongly, and back channel. It doesn't affect your fucking friendship like a goddamn adult. Like, of course, I'm going to go hang out with the Wicks and the people like that a lot more. And my politics are more chill from my friend group. I think that's 100% true.
But Dev,
yeah.
so here's my frustration because I do get this a lot, and it kind of becomes this like tribalism of like, well, if you betray our tribe, then fuck you. You're not even a part of this entire thing we call left and right. But as far as I can tell from like a semi-historical analysis, is that left is supposed to be for the demos, for the people. This comes from the French Assembly, you know? And if you look at like political organizations like the Democrats, Oftentimes their rhetoric and their philosophy and their beliefs are an advocacy for people, and often for the advocacy of reforming institutions to better serve the people. And so there's people who are temperamentally a part of society who they look at the world and they say, these institutions are broken and they're screwing over the masses. Therefore, it's my job in politics to advocate for the masses against the institutions that are destroying them. And then I think when it comes to conservatives, there are basically, like, if you look at Burke and if you look at the way that he viewed things, it's that, like, no, institutions are things that we created over hundreds, if not thousands of years, that have like accumulated wisdom and purpose behind them. And so while reforming them to create a better justice is always good, we can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is oftentimes what very progressive people want to do. And so, like, the reason why I'll never be like, oh, I'm a leftist now, oh, I'm a lefty, oh, I'm a progressive, it's because I just don't temperamentally view the world that way. I start with the institution and then I move to the progress or the reform that I think will improve society. I don't start with people.
Most people do what you do.
No, I think it's a social club.
It being what?
Well, my honest answer to what Wick just asked is I think people temperamentally
you know why I'm asking
align.
that, by the way?
No.
Okay.
But
I'll let you answer, then I'll
yeah, sure. But sorry, this is important. I think people temperamentally align with these groups already. So, for instance, like, if you have a fuckload of testosterone, you're probably going to lean conservative.
Ew.
If you have a little bit of estrogen, let's be real, you're probably going to be more century. If you got a fuckload of estrogen, you're probably going to be lefty, right? So anyways, like, I think people are temperamentally.
Is that why all trans girls are like crazy?
I don't know about that, right?
But yeah, like the point is that, like, I think people have their temperament and then they have their culture, and then through that calculation they end up where they end up.
So the Democrats' plan for 2024 needs to be to get estrogen in the
just put it in the water supply. Okay.
I would say if you put a shitload of estrogen in the water supply, yeah, a lot more people would vote Democrat. But I also think that if you masculinized the party, then you would stand a higher chance of winning.
But hold on,
Wick, you asked, like, why am I asking that? And I wanted to know why.
I asked you, right? Because you were telling about how you make these decisions, why you aren't a lefty anymore, and how you kind of view
never was,
and how you you know what I mean, right? But how you choose your tribe. And I think that's well and good, and I think that's probably a wiser way that most people do. But I think that a lot of the times, and this is something I do too, this is a problem I have as well, is that I assume my journey to something is the journey to something, right? Mm-hmm. That the way I've arrived at a conclusion is the way that other people have always arrived at this conclusion. And then my path is everyone's path. And I think that something that talking to so many different people in my life has kind of elucidated to me is that people can arrive at the same conclusion from wildly different directions. Now, I think you are correct when you say that most people, it is a social club. The reason most people leave the left or whatever is because leftists are mean to them.
Yep.
And it's no deeper than that. Their friend group treats them like shit, and they're like, fuck you guys. And they just go to the other team. That's it. There's no other thing involved.
But for me, oftentimes when I ask these people, like, there was some like,
they'll justify it. They'll justify it after the fact. Well, but that's the real reason, right?
Well, and there was this black kid who's like, oh, I can't believe you would ever work with any liberals or progressives. You call yourself a conservative? And I'm like, what the fuck does conservatism mean to you? And like, as soon as I asked him that, he was like, church, family. And I was like, oh, so you have no idea what politics is. You haven't read any amount of history whatsoever. And so you've taken like these I don't know, these like signifiers. I would almost say like virtue signals of what a conservative is. And if people don't identically line up with your virtue signals, then they're not a part of your tribe, which is one of the dumbest ways to argue about politics ever. I couldn't believe he was even involved in Twitch and YouTube politics in the first place, because we autistically talk about ideologies all the time.
So I don't know how often you guys follow the more far right spaces on the internet, but have you seen James Lindsay getting absolutely fucking gang raped by people who are
No.
further right
Yes.
than him right now.
Which is funny because I'm encouraging him in it on Twitter, which is probably not helping.
I've only seen this out of the corner of my
I'm
eye.
like, keep going.
Right?
Keep going, James. You got this.
What is
One more tweet.
So he coined the term, I think he coined the term woke right, right?
Mhm.
And the idea of the woke right is basically just a bunch of people who are at least as right-wing as your average MAGA voter, if not significantly more so. And they've begun to adopt the tactics of the woke left, which served them so well, at least culturally, not electorally, but culturally, from like 2012 to 2020, right? So now the right wing, these people who are very far right are picking this up, and they're starting to behave like them. And James Lindsay is out here, and he's a pretty right wing guy, but he's out here saying, listen, we can't act the way that they were acting, so it's gonna cause the same problems. And he's getting completely destroyed by all of these people.
Dude, Sargon's in his replies being like, you fucking liberal. This is where all your ideology ends up, you fucking piece of shit.
Most people
Dude,
I
think it's so fun. No, I'm being so mean, and I'm like, I'm in the replies, I'm like poking both of them. I'm like, do it, fight.
Well, that's the thing though, is that James Lindsay, he's what like Loner Box would call a right wing liberal. Right.
Yeah.
And I think you are one too.
What does that mean?
Connor?
What does that
right-wing
mean?
liberal?
Oh, like Connor. Okay, got it.
Yes. Yeah. The idea is like Reagan and Thatcher, right? Yeah. So
institutionalist,
dude, or even learning the lore behind like neoconservatism. I was like, fuck. Like I'm sorry, this entire ideology has been ruined for a century. This is terrible.
It does make me feel a little better to know that the right is going through the same conversations that I am, because I tell people on the left all the time, and this was last night. I was telling this to Destiny. We can't behave like them.
No,
right? We can't behave like them.
But the right wing is better at tribal loyalty. So if there is a major thing that is going to affect the right wing, and they need to snap together in order to achieve a specific result, I just think they're better at doing that.
Maybe.
Whereas I think the left they'll literally be on the fucking Titanic arguing about like climate change as they all fucking sink into a watery grave.
Thank you, Connor.
You're welcome.
So yeah, because like I've been seeing like I think Sargon was in on a little bit, but I saw like Academic Agent, if you know who he is. I saw Dave the Distributist, if you know who he is. Like, they're hopping in, and these are much more. These are figures who are more right wing than even Sargon is, right? And they're hopping in, and they're jumping on James Lindsay.
Right wing for sure.
Yeah, the dissident right is. It's I love those guys because they're so different from anything else, but they're all insane, all of them. They're very intelligent and they're fucking insane. They would never be caught dead on like a WIC panel or anything because they're way too far.
Distributist just being mean a little bit. He basically told me that what's happening is I am being cucked by my nice gay neighbors, my nice black neighbors, my nice Hispanic neighbors, and my he didn't say Jewish overlords, but I'm assuming if I dug a little bit, he might have said it. And he was like, you're basically being cucked into accepting a whole bunch of strangers from foreign countries, and what's going to happen is a giant economic collapse like 30 or 50 years from now, and then it's going to be a massive fucking race war that's going to destroy everyone. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was so mean about it. But dude, like 5 years ago, that's basically what he told me. He told me like internet globalism is trying to create this this hodgepodge of various races and cultures, but they're going to mix together, and then an economic catastrophe is going to happen, and then the entire world will look like South Africa.
So can you help me understand this? Because Dev, I don't spend time in these right-wing spaces. How does the race war, how is this going to work? Who gets the armored tank divisions? Because I hope it's white people. Can you
Well, that's not how the military works. It's not how ethnic enclaves in the United States work. It's not how black or Hispanic people work.
Yeah, on this. Okay, hold on. I just really want to know this. So do I have to go to white person boot camp to serve in the
Yeah.
Do I have to?
You got to go to Massachusetts. Oh, you're already in Massachusetts. You got to go to New Hampshire.
What is the standard gun of black people compared to white people? Do they get a Tech 9 and I get a, I don't know, like a shotgun from Deliverance or something? A Glock? Okay. So, like, how does this work?
Well, a lot of these guys there's more Europeans in the dissident right than I think there are Americans, and it's because Europe has a different relationship with ethnicity than America does, right?
Okay.
America was founded as as a melting pot, and it is because unfortunately all
they wouldn't agree with that. I'm just shaking my head because I know they wouldn't agree.
I know, but here's the thing, because unfortunately all the natives died, so free land, you have your melting pot, but Europe still has intact indigenous ethnicities, right?
Sure.
And you can make a very strong argument that the governments of those countries should be in some way prioritizing those ethnicities and those cultures, and not simply becoming melting pots again, because that is what's happening to Europe right now. It is becoming a melting pot. And so there's a stronger case for ethno-nationalism in Europe than there is in North America, I think, especially when you see some of the stuff that's happened in Europe, because immigration has been significantly worse for them than it's been in Canada and the United States. And I know that you know what I'm talking about, Counterpoints. I'm sure you've seen the videos, like the machete attacks and the crazy shit, the riots.
Yeah, whenever these people would try to make arguments about the United States immigration and integration issues, I would be like, okay, well, we have different problems than Europe. And then they'd be like, no, it's the same. And it's like, no.
Yeah, I've spoken to many progressives who think that you can just transplant the American way of life universally. And the American point of view. I think
you can too, through conquest. But yes.
Well, yeah. Okay. No, I meant
is this a race war?
No, this is the civic nationalist anti-race war. This is liberal. This is liberal globo homo. This is the neocon super Earth Greater United States of America.
Fukuyama super soldiers. Okay, Fukuyama super soldiers.
Okay. So yeah, I didn't mean to say way of life. I meant like point of view, right? It's because Americans have a very different point of view on ethnicity than Europeans do. And
do you think so?
Oh, for sure, 100%, absolutely.
French people hate English people. English people hate French people, and it is like an ethno-linguistic difference. And like French and Germans, they don't think of themselves, at least a healthy chunk of them, do not think of themselves as Europeans, right? They think of themselves as French, German.
Okay,
you're from Massachusetts. I'm from
no. Hold on. So okay. I was just thinking, so the last time I hung out with Constantine, we went to a dinner party at a very famous person's house, and it was a bunch of people that included a lot of Jewish people, right? And we were talking about immigration policy, and Constantine said something I thought was really, really interesting. He was, for his point of view, a lot of the culture in Europe is lost because of immigration policies that are so broad. It is literally like diluting the commitment to Western values. And he thinks there's still a chance in America for the center to hold on that commitment to democracy, to all these things, to basically not be on board with theocracy. And I guess that's where my pushback is coming from on that, because I think there was some truth to that statement.
No, I think it definitely was. Yeah, someone in the chat just pointed out there was that crazy lady from the viral video 2 weeks ago where she rips up a policy and does a tribal dance in the New Zealand Parliament, right?
Oh,
which was supposed to establish their equality.
Yeah, and it's that went viral because it's so stupid. But it's kind of a more serious version of this. Is you go to the UK and you see, I'm sure we've all heard about the no-go zones, right? Where if you're not Muslim, don't go to this neighborhood.
Yeah.
And if you go there, if you go there and you're a woman, they're putting a fucking scarf on your head, kind of thing. And it's like, listen, this is the UK is supposed to be a liberal, capitalist, democratic country. And it's not supposed to have these neighborhoods where people's rights are restricted for religious reasons, right? But it's because, well, they don't do a good job of integrating their immigrants. They have a lot more, let's just call it white guilt than other places do, certainly than the Americans do. And so they're like, it's not all doomer. I think maybe the right wingers kind of overplay their hand sometimes, but they have an immigration problem and they're not tackling it. And then when progressives from America talk about it, they talk about it from that American point of view where, no, you're just a racist. Everything's fine. Everyone integrates. What are you talking about? And they've never even been to Europe. Yeah. They think it's just the same everywhere, but it's not.
No, I'm with you, and this actually goes back. Somebody said Fukuyama earlier. This goes back to the apparently, bear in mind I talk about these things tons, but I don't actually read them. There's the end of history, and there's the clash of civilizations. And so there's this argument between like the coherent ideologies of civilization, great civilizations like the United States or the Western world or China or the Middle East and North Africa. And you do have different value sets from region to region versus the end of history was basically saying that like, oh, it's clear that liberal mixed economy capitalism is the best model and therefore everybody's going to adopt it.
The natural resting point of civilization.
Yeah.
Well, and to be honest, I think that there could be an element of truth to that, but I also think that it's a fairly dismissive perspective of other people's cultural perspectives. I think that republicanism is a universal human good, but there are people across the world who don't agree at all. And so I think, we will win in the long term. But yeah, like these ethno-religious enclaves, they don't want to be, or a healthy chunk of them don't want to be American.
Yep.
They want to be what they are.
Though they don't want to be American, and I think this is important. I think they are influenced by American culture. I think
100%
has warped them either negatively or positively, right? But
in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia,
I want to hear Wick's point.
Oman.
I want to hear Wick's point. Hold on.
I mean he's backing me up on here, right? Like they've warped it, and like everyone, you either love or hate America, but you never ignore America. Right, America is there. Our music, our culture, our shows, our values. You either
members of the Taliban watch Transformers.
Yeah, you either it's crazy, right? And so I think that like over time, even the people who hate us, they're going to become more like us. And I think this is a period of over like the next 100, 200 years. We are going to become. Everyone's going to become more American than they are today.
Well, and sorry, I was backing up Wick, but just as an example, I would, if you would have talked to me in 2016, I would have been like a Lauren Southern talking points machine about like integration, mass immigration, like all that kind of stuff, right? I would have been spouting off Chris Ray gun, shoe on head, and Lauren Southern talking points in 2016.
Are you getting on the yacht?
What's that?
Are you getting on the yacht with her?
Am I getting on the yacht? Is that where I get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to fillet a camel? So yeah, there's Saudis. I don't know if this is the same meme, but there's a meme that like Instagram models will get paid hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to go on an all expenses paid vacation to, Bahrain or Dubai, but they have to do really graphic sexual shit.
You are talking about the Dubai porta potties. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, so the reason why I agree with Wick and I was trying to back him up is that fast food is an insane cultural export in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, where since they're dry countries and it's not like socially acceptable to have alcohol, there of course are clubs, but still, since it's not socially acceptable to have alcohol, Middle Eastern and North African normies, they treat like going to KFC or McDonald's like the way that we used to treat going to the mall. So they'll be out on like a Thursday or Friday night and they'll be like, yo, you want to go to McDonald's? You want to go to Wendy's? You want to go to this? You want to go to that? And so it's like a multi-billion-dollar cultural transfer that's happening right now. And it's affecting their health negatively, but they're also getting delicious food.
Sure. I guess in terms of values, though, like you definitely have cultures that are not democratic. They want a theocracy. They want a different kind of government. Yeah. They're not going to integrate well, right?
I agree with you. Like Saudi Arabia isn't going to become like a pro-gay progressive utopia just because their citizens are eating McDonald's. But I am saying that there is going to be some level of cultural osmosis where we might become a little bit more conservative through cultural interchange and they might become a little bit more liberal.
I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's true. Whenever I've argued with progressives on this topic, they've always said like, well, if we're all just the same, blank slate, genetics don't really matter. If you take, a brown baby from the Middle East and pluck them out of the Middle East and then drop them into the hands of an adoptive, an adoptive couple in North America somewhere, they will grow up to be an American or a Canadian, which is, I think is true.
Yeah.
The issue though is that
I don't know though. Hold on, Dev, because they dropped me into Mississippi and I didn't really become
and you ended up being a fucking Yankee for some reason.
That's right. There we go.
Fair enough. But the issue though is that they use this logic to justify a whole bunch of immigration. But the guys coming in, there's like if you bring in a 40-year-old from Pakistan, he still has 40 years of Pakistani culture in him. He's not going to have the same values as your average Westerner. Now, that's not necessarily bad, because there are certainly some good things about other cultures. However, there's also negative things that do not mesh well with liberal cultures. And
Did you see the Pakistani cab driver or like Uber driver who was like, hey, listen, gals, if I was you, I wouldn't dress that way because if we were back in Pakistan, I would be raping you.
Yep. That was in Canada.
What?
Yeah.
Jesus, man. Like you can think that, but you don't need to say it. What the fuck?
Yeah. It was a cab driver in Toronto, and he basically said that the only reason that I would not kidnap you right now is because the government would come after me. Because it's completely in line with his values to do so. And that's
they're being whores.
Like, he thinks he's actually helping them, right? That's a culture thing, right?
It's like, hey, I'm warning you
an important lesson so they can learn, right?
Yeah. Okay. So sorry, real quick. So me being all centristy and shit. Like, this is the reason why, like, I don't necessarily have a problem with like Central American and South American people coming to the United States. But what I want to happen is I want them to be checked at the border, and I want them to voluntarily sign up for integrating into the culture of the United States. I think there's very cool things about our culture. I love freedom of conscience. I love freedom of speech. I love mixed economy capitalism. I like the right to self-defense. I love limited government. I want them to learn and appreciate and love those virtues and values.
If I may, and this is if we're gonna do a complaining session about progressives, right?
Let's go, boys.
That frustrates me to no end about a lot of the people on the left is this idea that of cultural relativism, that all cultures are okay, all cultures are good. No, some cultures are bad. Yeah. Some cultures have more bad in them than good. So yes, I'm with you, Connor. I think that the American culture is superior to Saudi Arabia's, to Iran's.
No, come on, now we're going too far. Now I have to dial it back in.
No, to all these, our culture is better. I'll say it, our culture is just better. Yeah. So yes.
Hold on. No. Oh God, this is the problem with being centrist. I always have to dial it in. So hold on. Okay, hold on.
No, it's just true.
No, America.
Okay, I agree. No, hold on. Hold on. All right. I agree with you 90%, but I think that there's a problem here. Okay. Generally speaking, I think that liberalism is like a brilliant governing philosophy that largely allows people of different cultures to live side by side without killing the shit out of each other, right? And therefore, like, Republican democracy is probably the way to go from a governmental perspective. However, I think when it comes to liberals and progressives, oftentimes what happens is they become so permissive of everything, which is a part of American culture, which is a part of liberal culture, which is a part of progressive culture, that they'll look at something that's fucking awful and they'll be like, yeah, well, it's their choice though. So that they'll look at like a fucking a heroin addict strung out on the side of the road, fucking like eating shit like out of the dumpster and pooping themselves in public. And they'll be like, yeah, well, it's like their choice though, bro.
Aspects of other cultures that are better than ours. So for example, I'll use China as an example. I think that Asian culture, Chinese culture specifically, treats their elderly better than American culture treats our elderly.
So we should steal that.
Much more respect, with much more care, all these things. However, when you look at things holistically, when you look at the culture overall, it's clear that overall our culture just has more good. So I'm okay with adopting, and this is another part of our culture. American culture,
cultural interchange.
Culture is we adopt the good parts of other cultures.
I agree. I just sometimes tonight was a fairly refreshing conversation where we're calling spades and all that kind of stuff. But I just like, that there is this endless level of excuses for bad behavior that come from like liberal tolerance. And I think that's one of the things that actually genuinely separates me from like a liberal who supports the Democrat Party. I think their first instinct whenever somebody is doing something bad is to find out all of the material conditions that led them to their bad decisions and then make excuses for it.
Connor, you just said call a spade, and I just had a flashback, a trauma flashback. 3-hour argument I had in back channel with progressives in the Gamergate era where I said call a spade in the media. Yeah, I had to go meet with a bunch of black women to learn the racial history of that phrase.
See, but that's the thing is like if I had to go do that, then I would immediately get done with the meeting and then I'd tweet out the N-word with an A because like I'm not tolerating that stuff. Like, dude, like listen, I am all for understanding each other. I am not for getting bullied into like dude, calling a
Connor,
spade a
we're
spade.
gonna have the meeting right after here, and
Okay,
Victoria's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be there.
tweet the N-word with
We're
the gay
gonna talk
immediately
about
afterwards.
your problematic behavior.
I'm gonna tweet it at Larry Sharp. So
why are you doing that to your camera? Why do you keep doing
You've been doing
that?
it like every 3
because it
seconds.
keeps
What's going on?
spinning. So what's going on is I got a really nice desk mounted mount, but the horizontal stabilizer isn't working. It's not locked in properly, even though I tried to. And so every time I'm talking to you guys, it just like shifts like 15 degrees.
Wick, you are an Army guy, right? Is
Air
this why
Force,
Marines,
not
Air
Army.
Force?
I'm not a
Okay.
bullet sponge.
Okay,
Air
fair
Force
enough.
people.
Fair enough. Is
Yes,
this why
Marines are very dumb.
considered you
Yes.
dumb? Yeah.
Yes, we
Is this
smash
the
our
reason?
equipment until it works, and then it only kind of works. All right, but hold on. So we are hitting. What time is it? It is 8:35. Okay,
Yeah, I've got
we
media in the morning. So
right. So let's hit some super chats, and we'll use the super chats as a launching off point if we have cute and funny things to say. But we had pretty much like 160, 170 people hang out with us almost all night. I'm gonna thank ShortFatOtaku for
that's
that.
the dev
'Cause-
magic.
yeah,
That's
it's
why he
dev
gets
magic.
recognized all the time in public. That's why
But
he's so
I-
great.
Only the once. Only the once.
So I think the hot debate from last night. Thank you, Wick, for putting that on, and Dev being here tonight. I think it helped us out with metrics. So thank you to the 170 people cross-platform who are hanging out with us tonight. Be sure to like the stream. If you're on Twitch, go ahead and follow. If you're not a subscriber on Twitch, if you want to give us some money, go ahead and do it. If you're on YouTube, you want to become a YouTube member, please do so. Super chats are not required, but appreciated. And also, we have 40 super chats tonight. So thank you kindly to everybody who was very
Woo!
generous with your time,
But
attention,
not our
and
Artemis
money.
Fowl. Not
But
our,
we
Yeah.
have some
Sure.
Artemis Fowl, and I'm sure we have some in a second.
he needs to pay
But
more.
we're going to read those super chats now. We are going to respond to them, and basically we'll use them for banter for, I don't know, maybe like another 30 minutes, 40 minutes or so, and then we'll probably wrap up. So anyways.
30 minutes, but yeah.
Okay, so 25 minutes for Brianna and then 40 minutes for everybody else. Anatalope says, this might be the first time I majorly disagree with Dev. I mean, it would have been an insane to say 5 years ago, but we need civil war with the progressives. I think they were disagreeing with civil war from your assessment from about an hour ago.
Yes. The TLDR, that was like civil war is one viable way to solve this problem. It's not the ideal way, but it is a way that would do it. It's just,
sorry, go ahead.
Man, like I do think hitting them with the stick first institutionally is how you have to bring them back to the table somehow. But I mean, if they're not going to come back to the table, no matter what stick you hit them with, either you roll over and you just spread them wide and give them whatever they want, or you have a civil war. Like that's it.
Okay.
And what I'm hopeful for is that the Trump presidency burns out a lot of the populist energy that's associated with him, and he's incompetent. He doesn't get much done, and then as a result, this populism fizzles out and dies.
Wick, can you pilot an Apache for the Civil War since you were in the Air Force? I've been watching Lioness.
No,
and
but I
think
can
that would
repair.
be-
If you need me to do some maintenance on a tanker, a KC-135 specifically,
Okay.
I got you. Okay.
Okay.
I
That
got
will
you.
come
Unfortunately,
with
that's going to be
DMV.
an exclusively federal government perk. So, all right. I'm going to try to keep it moving just so we aren't here
Okay,
for
fair
all
enough.
night. Grassy Chechamon for $5. Dev also doesn't get the credit he's due for being very early on for the Trump admin's enthusiasm for populism is a veiled mechanism to shift to monarchism.
What's monarchism?
King.
Yeah, monarchy.
I mean, yeah, but is that just all it means?
No,
Yeah.
It's a form of government where your executive branch is inherited, and the country is basically treated as if it were private property that the ruling family owns, right? And you have
It's
you have, like,
mostly jokes, but there are people who joke about like a Trump monarchy being a good thing and an ideal thing that we should push for.
yes.
Well,
Well,
Ivanka does look like a Disney princess. So
I mean, so here's the thing, because Canada is a constitutional monarchy, right? So it's still a liberal, capitalist, democratic country, but our executive branch is a monarchy, and yet it's still, you know, a comparable country to republics like the United States, and it's because of the constitutional part, right? We have restrictions on the executive and what it can do.
But isn't it oftentimes with the monarchy at this point in the Commonwealth that it's pretty much with like the consent of the king and the queen, and at this point they don't really like fight anything?
for the most part. However, they still reserve the royal prerogative if necessary. So, for example, in Australia in the 1980s, there was a huge scandal where the government was extremely polarized. They couldn't get anything done, and the Governor General, acting on behalf of the Queen, basically threw everyone out of the Parliament and called elections for every single position because they could not get they could not get the yearly budget passed, and so just unilaterally said, "Fuck you, you're all incompetent. We're calling an election right now." And so basically the monarchy exists as a fail safe to ensure that at least something will get done.
So that's actually kind of funny to me. I don't want to rant too much, but like,
okay,
Sargon,
we gotta go. Yeah,
true. But it's curious to me that Sargon likes that system. All right. Anyways, did I already highlight this? Yes, I did.
It's Artemis.
The 5-hour debate. This is Artemis Fowl, our favorite. The 5-hour debate after was Destiny topic hopping to find something I was weak on, and then constantly asking me questions and grinding down to nitpicky details like he accuses Hassan Piker of doing. Okay.
That's his
Well,
interpretation
I
of what
heard it
happened.
was good content.
Great.
You guys should go watch it. Like, you go. I know you don't have the whole VOD on your stream, Wick, but it is on Destiny's. You should go watch it. Definitely.
Ooh.
Platypus Unum says, if that debate was some big cringe, please tell me that it isn't the best of left tube. I thought these people were our intellectual betters. I mean, I'm gonna say
Rick, what are
these
you
people are
saying
heavyweights
Hey,
in the
if
debate
you think
space.
that you can do better and you would like to try, I encourage you. As I'm open to pretty much whoever. If you think you can do better, I can set you up, and we can do a whatever your name is versus a world on any topic you like, and we'll see how you do. Okay.
I'll tell you, literally, the comments that I get in YouTube comments, I will often ask a follow-up question, and I just don't get responses, and I have to presume it's because these people cannot think under pressure. Grassroots Touchabon for $5. Me when JD Vance becomes God King of America. Is that an angry face? I think angry face. Me when the pretty lawyer lady becomes Queen of America. I find your terms acceptable. I'm not sure which pretty lawyer lady, but sure.
The hot Latina judge, I think.
Oh, nice. Big simping in the chats. Big Hoff 98 says, as a right-wing elitist, give the people bread and circus and go back to the days of the CIA selling drugs to minorities to run proxy wars. I don't know if that's sarcastic or not. And Natalope says, Destiny has basically become an accelerationist for civil war. Even now, we aren't anywhere near civil war. All this is the worst kind of doomerism.
I think that's true. I don't think we're anywhere near it. Like,
He's so black pill, man. He's so black pill right now.
There is a clear path to get to civil war from where we are right now, and it may be necessary to go down it. I don't know if it is.
Stop saying this. No, I'm not fighting in a civil war. I'm just
to be fair, in the first Civil War, there was a lot of people who just like watched the battles. They just kind of like came out of their houses and like just sat in their yards and watched the two armies fight. You can just be a spectator,
and you can also be a fundraiser.
Okay, spoiler: the trannies don't do well in the Civil War. I'm just gonna tell you, it does not end well.
I'm gonna say, trans rights will be a low priority during Civil War conflict. So.
No, I'm saying like it's just not going to go well. So I
agree.
I would prefer to avoid a civil war. That would be my policy preference.
Let's do it. Gingermus Prime for $5. My whole life, the left has undermined civil and social institutions, been the popular side of politics, so it's safe to say I don't believe them now. I don't like this style of thinking. I have a comment. Does anybody else have a comment?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, people don't trust institutions for a reason, and that reason isn't just paranoia or anything like that. Like, there are reasons trust in the institution has, again, very reasonably been lost, and people need to fix. Institutions need to get their shit together. That said, there are people who are trying to undermine our institutions, right? And that's not the left right now. That's the right.
I would say the left has been very loud and prosecuted what I would say as a successful culture war. The reason why I say that, despite obvious disasters, is because I know the words cis. I know the words trans. I know the word MB. I know the word kin. I know the word cloud gender. I know its pronouns. I know all of this stuff. And the reason why I know all this stuff is because there were hyperbolic people in media, and hyperbolic people in social media who successfully got me to consider these ideas. And I would actually say that they got me to probably evolve in some of my ideas as well. However, I would say that MAGA is infinitely more relevant as an extreme movement than Hassan Piker.
Okay, I know we gotta go through super chats, but Dev, did you see the Transformers clip of them inculcating children into this non-binary stuff? Have you seen this?
Nope, this is news to me.
Oh, you gotta see this. It's some wild times.
Send it to me on Twitter, I guess, or send me a DM.
I mean, it's like Transformers. When I was growing up, it was like Optimus Prime, like taking on the Decepticons, and now it's like gender re-education camps.
Well, I mean, if you were going to pick a child's medium in which to do it, Transformers.
Yeah.
I don't think it's so. I don't think it's like it took till.
Oh, so they can be robots that can transform into cars, but they can't
Robots
transform
from
their
the
gender.
You've got two girl Transformers, Connor. You've got Arcee, you've got Windblade. Okay, so that's just not great representation.
Well, right, but I'm just okay. So I'm making a very dumb argument that I don't care about.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm just saying a transformer is a robot being that can transform from a robot into a car. So why can't they reprogram their, like, I don't know if like this rate, I don't know if Autobots have genitalia, but if they do, why can't they transform their genitalia?
Stop being so myopic. They can transform into many things. Starscream is a fighter jet.
Thank you.
It's not
Thank
just
you.
Well, no, but that's my point is if he can turn into a fighter jet off of scanning the fighter jet, then can he scan a dong and then generate a phallus?
It's like you don't even understand how the matrix of leadership works, okay?
I don't. From Transformers, because I don't. All right. Anyways, we could very easily fall down a rabbit hole of the various genders of Autobots. But anyways,
I do want to reply to that, just not to that part of it. No, just really quickly, like I was watching I think Star Trek Discovery, and there was a very cringe scene where like someone comes out and is like, my pronouns are they them. And I'm like,
God, great.
Yeah. Or then like,
but are we fogies though? Are the kids adopting this, or are the kids rejecting this?
Oh, they're rejecting it. Of course they're fucking rejecting it, dude. Like,
you think so?
Absolutely. Oh, okay. So I recall being back in high school and skipping class and laughing at the moral lessons that teachers tried to bring out whenever it was like a special day at school and they have like a special someone come in talk about drugs or whatever. I was like, this is fucking lame. I'm gonna laugh. Like, I'm gonna skip this. It's bullshit. And then I've seen now videos that have been like secretly recorded in classrooms from teenagers nowadays, and they're in there and the teacher's like, I've got a special presentation, and then like some fucking weirdo walks in and starts talking about gender stuff, and these kids do not give a fuck. And it's not because they actually oppose it, it's because they just don't want to do what they're told. So I think there's a strong streak of just not giving a shit.
Okay, so I'm with you there, and it's different coming from the authority versus coming from what's perceived as the counterculture with like teenagers or whatever. But just as an example, like, you know, Eminem, right? Like in the thousands, he was like a countercultural force that was basically saying that you could say whatever you wanted to say, whenever you wanted to say it, and all that kind of stuff. And the reason why I think that resonated with a lot of teenagers is because you have to go to this place, sit down, shut up for 8 hours, all that kind of stuff. So my thing is like, if this is presented in the culture, then are they going to view that as rebellion? But I think you kind of preempted my argument because you said this is the institution that's telling them to do this.
Yeah, a lot of the yeah. So now that millennials aren't teenagers and we're in our 30s and we're going into these schools and doing these things, the kids are rebelling against it naturally. They're like, fuck you. I don't want to actually use all these weird pronouns.
All right, I gotta go to bed. I agree, obviously.
Okay.
No.
We'll finish up the super
chat. Let's go through. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Anatalope. Both sides view themselves the same way. Both Dems and Repubs are willing to switch every few years from elitist and populist arguments when it suits them. I agree with that. That's why I'm always more elitist, but then I actually care about the people.
Just real quick here. So, the real meta conversation about that comment is that liberals and conservatives are actually the same thing, but I don't think you Americans are ready for that one. Maybe in a few decades.
We'll have to fight about that later.
We actually kind of talked about. I don't know if we talked about this specifically, but I said that what is it? Conservatives are progressives doing the speed limit, but that's actually based, and that's the way that I view it. And that's the way Burke viewed it, by the way. AD for $2. The election was closer than at first glance. I agree with this so much. Okay,
Yeah.
so I am not a Democrat, right? It was a tactical calculation in order to go against MAGA. So hopefully MAGA would get a bloody nose, and then we could return to some level of normalcy. Well, that didn't happen because he won. But Elon tweeting every day about how they have this like broad consensus and overwhelming mandate from the people isn't true. It was 1.5%. 5 million Democrats who were pissed off at the economic collapse under Trump during COVID did not show up. That's
Closer
all
than
that
that.
happened.
Closer than that.
Yep.
If we had a 2% switch in that in just 3 states,
And, like,
so
yeah.
not 5 million, just we're talking tens of thousands. Okay,
Mhm.
in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, and Michigan, if those had flipped 2% the other way, we'd be looking at President-elect Harris right now.
See,
Yep.
That's it.
this is why that debate last night. I think everything counts, but I don't want to.
Yeah, no, everything counts. Yeah,
Everything
Well,
absolutely.
I think the reason people think that there is a mandate is because, like, I think primarily, not primarily, it is online primarily. There was that graph that went viral from Zero Hedge where it showed it showed 14 million votes,
20 million.
which gets rounded up to 20 because it's the nearest 10. So, but still, 14 million votes missing. Where did they all go? Oh, they were all clearly fake, right? But it turns out no, it's the gap's actually like 5 million or 4 million or something, and it turns out they just fucking stayed home. Like, but here's the thing. That came out first. It came out early. It looked really slick when you look at it. Like, it intuitively makes sense, even though it's wrong. So that became the narrative. And now it's what everyone thinks.
Oh, I literally considered it. I was like, there's no fucking way 11 million people didn't show up, right? So it was even convincing to me. And then as I saw, they were like, oh, they hadn't counted California yet. They hadn't finished all these other states that had a whole bunch of blue votes. It was like, oh, okay. All right, keeping it moving, though, because we do want to respect everybody's bedtime. Grassroots Hegemon for $10. Chaz was one of my favorite moments in history. In like 4 days, you gave the populace what they wanted, and they literally got taken over by a warlord in like a week. Warms the heart. It's true.
That's true. It was supposed
true.
The great left anarchist experiment of everyone just living in perfect harmony with each other and mutual aid, and within 2 days, a gang took over the whole place. It was fucking hilarious.
Which again, it's like that. It's like the meme. There was a meme like a decade ago of like Ancapistan or whatever, where it's like, oh, we're all gonna voluntarily participate with each other, and then it's like, jihadists like take it over instantaneously. It's like, bro, power abhors a vacuum. If you don't know that already, you just need to understand that.
Yep.
Old school for $5. You underestimate Trumpism. Read Silver's wrap up of the election. We have a historically incompetent expert class. I say this as a degreed expert.
I don't know. Oh, maybe Nate.
Are
Silver?
we talking about Nate Silver?
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah,
we are.
Yeah. So here's the deal with Nate Silver and Cenk Uygur and all these people, right? They all say, let me finish.
We'll
Right?
talk about my friend. Okay, go ahead.
Well,
Like,
Cenk did say something wild the other day.
He's wrong on this, right? But they keep saying like, oh, those institutions, those elitists, all these people, right? They're out to get you. Like, yo, Cenk, Nate Silver, all these people, they're part of that class. They're part of that group. They are, right? And they want to pretend not to be, but no, they have all the power, millions and millions of viewers, subscribers, clout, influence, all these things. They're the elitists, right? They're the institution, right? So
the only thing that I want to hit though is that basically we do not have media 30 years ago or 20 years ago compared to what we've had for the past decade, where you've been able to see everyone's thoughts every single day. So don't lionize the experts of the 80s and the 70s and the 60s or whatever, because those people were very carefully manicured to be in the positions of power that they were. So we don't have a unique problem. It's just more exposed because of social media. All right. Silver Camaro 78. Brianna, I'm going to say, I don't think, well, America is better than Canada is a great argument. The country birthed Deb, for Christ's sakes, not a high bar.
No, this is why Canada is number 2, right?
We do have a CQ. It's like
America,
Lauren Southern, Lauren
birthed
Chen,
Wick TV,
Dev.
and Dev, and yeah.
Yeah, there's a Commonwealth issue going on for sure. I think so. This is my theory: is that Canada is comparatively underpopulated compared to the United States, and therefore they don't have as much to do. Therefore, they sit around and craft political essays in the frozen tundra of Canada.
Fair enough. All right,
moving on.
Let's go. More coming in. Come on. We're like, it's like
Cameraman 502. Dev's argument is literally the same Republicans made after the slander of Mitt Romney and the Lois Lerner scandal shook out the way in the mid-teens.
I don't recall this story. I don't know what he's talking about.
Cameraman, if you want to specify in chat, I will check it out if you want. And we're getting close. We're getting close. Don't worry. Silver Camaro 78. Here's some money to say Dev loves nothing more than to, and I'm not going to finish that sentence. He's saying that you aggressively.
This is pretty hot. Yeah.
I read it. I read it. They paid me last night to say I said it.
Well, I'm not saying it. No, I'm not a lefty. I'm not reading that degenerate crap on my stream. But this person is accusing. Is Naomi your partner, girlfriend, fiance?
Yes.
Okay.
She was the mistress of the
They're saying that
really?
Dev and her do very aggressive lefty sexual degenerate stuff. And that Naomi's are
degenerate. That's just normal stuff, Connor. Come on.
No, don't gaslight me. Not after last night. I can't take anymore. All right. Grassroots Hedgebon. Dev is being paid by PV, but he's just stealing it from Xanderhall's PayPal account because he still doesn't know what a bank is.
One day I will tell the story.
That's a solid comment.
And that night, I'm trying to cook Thanksgiving dinner, and Xanderhall is blowing up my phone.
Listen. Play nice. He'll figure it out eventually. Okay, he's got it. I have faith.
I'm just like, do you understand? Like, most of it's Thanksgiving, dude. So. In
his defense, actually, I'm not even going to do it. I'm not even going to do it. All right. So Satan Gray says, Destiny glazes a Democrat simply for hatred of the Republicans. It's very cringe and felt intellectually dishonest. I disagree. The reason why I disagree is because I think that Destiny liberalism and mild progressivism has been an ideology that does support rich men who like to have lots of aggressive consensual sex. And so I think that his life actually lines up with liberalism and progressivism as ideologies. That's actually part of the reason why I object. Does anybody else have a comment?
No.
Okay. Rises for $5. We also need more media figures, Dems sweeping to balance out the Tim Pools, Tuckers, and Pierces. It's true.
Yeah, that's actually fair.
I would love to do that. I would love to be a center right figure that doesn't go
really.
All the
you would
way
like
to stupid.
Suck the Democratic Party cock.
No. Is that what they're saying?
I think that's what they're saying. Am I wrong?
We also need more media figure Dems sweeping to balance out the Tim. Oh, okay. They're saying that the sweeping is a reaction to the current political landscape, and it's necessary because of figures like Tim Pool, Tucker, and Pierce.
They need more warriors, more Dem warriors to go to war.
I rescind pondering politics. He's got that on lock. Luke Beasley.
What are you talking about? This is what happens with
Adam
the Woo
Mockler.
dollars, the Woo progressive victory dollars.
Ryan Tyler Cohen, who watched the entirety of our stream last night, all 8 hours, right? He was there. He was chatting away. He's putting together he's trying to put together like this kind of counter Daily Wire, this anti-Daily Wire.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if it's gonna work, and I have some real big concerns with that kind of thing, but I understand the kind of the theory.
I think it's necessary.
I can see it working.
Even if I disagree with it, I think it's necessary. I think the reason why the Daily Wire, I don't like the Daily Wire, is because I think that they get so caught up in their mission that they endlessly sweep for anything the Republicans will do. And I am sure that is a potential pitfall of a left-wing Daily Wire, is they'll just sweep for anything the Democrats do.
But I'll save for another one.
Okay. Satan Gray for $2. Dev was the best panelist. Total Dev victory.
God damn it.
Well, they might have been talking about last night.
Dev, the one who didn't talk, the silent panelist, the one who signed a contract with Ursula.
He talked.
Right?
When he said things, it was worthwhile. Anatalope for $5 says, didn't we all learn in literally first grade that two wrongs don't make a right? Harm plus harm will never equal a good outcome. Dev, you're the person who says that we need to be reciprocal in our political engagements. Why don't you take that one?
Well, I get it, but sometimes you gotta harm people, are gonna harm you. Like, it's just simple as that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't. when someone steals from you, you at least get the stuff back they stole, right? Like you don't just let them get away with it.
Okay, but the extreme result of that argument is what happened to that CEO banker guy, or the CEO health insurance
True.
guy. That's the extreme
Presuming
result of that argument is they get gunned down in the streets because you can somehow connect some harm to them.
presuming that it was motivated by the role that he plays in the institution he's a
Well,
part
look
of.
at all the people like celebrating it, right?
Oh, 100%. No, absolutely. As a matter of fact, so just explain this real quick, because not a lot of people, if they're watching this as a VOD, they might not have context. There was a CEO of United Health who was walking down the street in New York, and a gunman with a silencer gunned him down on the side of the road and left, and they have not caught the gunman. People are speculating whether or not it's like basically like a disgruntled United Health customer who just took their wrath out on the CEO because they had a denied claim, or if it was like some like corporate backstabbing thing. But either way, like there's a lot of people on the internet right now who are
praising it. It's disgusting.
They're praising it, and they're praising it because they let's just say they're not fans of the American Medical Health Administration system, which I'm not as well. But I do agree that you can basically excuse anything at some point. So yeah. Satan Gray for $5 says backstab ? I welcome the critique, and then I'll fire back with my own if I have any. Otherwise, I'm just going to agree to disagree. I'm not sure what that's specifically in reference to, but that's cool. I think it's a fair perspective. Audacity says progressives love throwing out babies. Dang, I remember what they were responding to that one. That's rude. Grassroots Hegemon for $5. I would be so happy if they posthumously pardoned George Floyd Epstein. Oh wow. If you want to just cringe everyone into hating you, swing for the fences. Yeah.
Wait, why are we putting George Floyd in the same basket as Epstein?
Well, I think they're just saying that you would
different people.
I think you would just pardon them in order to infuriate large swaths of the population. I think that's what he's saying.
I don't think you get the same amount.
I don't think he's saying that George Floyd, although George Floyd did have like a pretty messed up criminal past. I don't think that he's saying that he's as bad as a pedophile. I just think he's saying that it would piss off vast swaths of the population. Audacity for $5.
Hold on, I get it. Sorry? I get it. It's because they both killed themselves.
I'm glad it ain't my show. I'm glad I'm not. Okay.
I feel like a blood vessel, like right behind my eye, just like on the verge of bursting. So, Audacity for $5. Put microwave emitters in cell phones. Brain damage makes you more liberal. Look it up. Well, All right, we're almost there, Brianna. I promise, or at least I think we are. Christian Blairis, James popularized groomer, so F him. Let the F slurs fight.
Yeah, James Lindsay brought groomer into what it currently means right now regarding like the whole trans thing. Yeah, that was him too.
Well, then I would say he kind of reaps what he sows on that one then, because like groomer started out as like a critique of people who were specifically trying to abuse kids in order to make them become something sexual, and it's become like a broad weaponized term for all LGBTQIA plus people.
Yep. And before that, it was a positive term. Like I recall rewatching Game of Thrones season 1. Where like
groomed for office, being groomed to be the king.
Yeah, Jon Snow is being groomed to be Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and it's like, oh, this sounds really weird now.
Yeah, you're like, oh, he's getting diddled to be the leader of the Night's Watch. That's not good. Yeah, so James Lindsay is probably reaping a little bit of what he's sown. Satan Gray for another $5. The transcendental right, as I refer to that group, they adopt the tactics and intellectualist, subversive nature of the left. They pose some concern. Well, so for
very
me,
deep topic. What the heck is?
Well, and for me, truth is supreme. Okay, all these like distant right wing people who are playing like 10D chess and stuff. I don't think it matters if they can't articulate their ideas truthfully to the world. And I think that, like, even as an example, let's say that one of them was like Giga Hitler and they were able to manipulate themselves into power. I think that the world would ultimately stand up and destroy them because they lied and manipulated in order to seize power. So Big Hoff 98 for €10. Irish here. We have kids here that grow up in areas that are fluent in the Irish language, that grow up with Valley Girl accents. Americans really don't understand the level of influence the U.S. has.
Wow.
That's cringe and based
Yep.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
Oh man, there was an entire class of Japanese immigrants or like travelers to the States who grew up watching 80s action films, and that's how they spoke. So you have these little girls who are talking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's fucking incredible.
They love baseball. They love cowboys. They love all these things, right?
Oh, I saw a guy from China who moved to Texas. The people in Texas were super nice to him, took him horseback riding and took him shooting. And he was like, I never want to do anything ever again. And so he immigrated to the United States. He got his citizenship and he became a cowboy. And so there's this guy running around with like a super thick Chinese accent. And all he does all day is like shoot
Ni
guns
hao
and
to
ride horses.
y'all.
Dude, it's straight up- I mean, I'm sure that's how his kids are going to talk. It's actually pretty awesome. So AD for $2 says 100 points if you know what the AAR-47 or ALE-47 are. I don't know what those are. They sound like guns to me,
I
but
think
that's just
that's
where my
related-
brain's going.
The weaponry conversation. You're asking what trans people weapons do they get in the race war? That's probably some pun there.
All right. Katie Nova NECA says Brianna looks pretty.
Oh,
Aren't you happy you stayed for that one?
yes.
Grassroots Hegemon. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Go ahead. Thank you,
Well-
Katie. That's very sweet of you.
Grassroots Hegemon for $5. No one can prove to me that Dev isn't 3 Tim Pools in a trench coat.
Oh, that is so mean.
No, I can. He makes cogent points. That just,
yeah,
like-
maybe 3 Tim
Ouch.
Pools could make cogent points. I don't know. An Antelope for
Wait,
$5.
no, Dev does not get paid like Russian. His videos are not in Russian.
That we know of. Yeah.
Totally joking. Okay.
Yeah. And an Antelope for $5. Liberals and conservatives have more in common with each other than radical counterparts. They also complement and ground each other. Two sides, same coin. I agree, an Antelope, but unfortunately, there are conservatives who have I think if you analogize the United States to a body, we need a healthy biome, like a gut biome of conservatives and liberals and progressives and all that kind of stuff. But right now we have conservatives who say that progressives and liberals are not necessary for us to have a healthy biome. And there's largely progressives who say that conservatives are totally unnecessary for a healthy biome. And I think it's horrible.
I think this is one thing that I don't like about Destiny, because he says conservatives a lot, and I'm just like, MAGA people aren't conservatives. I know that there's nothing conservative about MAGA. I guess it's like an easy shorthand for him to use, but it's very inaccurate. There are almost no conservatives in the United States.
Well, we should have that conversation another day, just so I know what you mean. But the MAGA, if he was using MAGA as shorthand in order to describe these people, then I would be way less likely to object. But I think that when he uses conservatives have no values, no principles, Republicans have no values, no principles, et cetera, I think that anyone who would have listened to him that from the moderate wing or the right wing, I think they shut out immediately. I think all of the work that he did over the past 2 years, like getting into right-wing circles and being considered strongly, evaporated.
Well, it wasn't that though that did it. It was his take on the
Firefighter.
assassination. Yeah, that was it. That I know a lot of people in my community who respected Dev, who were not Dev, I'm sorry, Destiny, who were on the right, who told me privately, like, no, I'm done.
My little brother told me that, and he's not even a Destiny fan.
I had the same problem, man, because like I didn't say anything anywhere close to what Destiny said. Right? Mm-hmm. What I did was I just hit my neck. Oops. What I did was I was looking through his Twitter account on the day of and stupidly tweeting about the things that I was finding, and which is I didn't say anything bad. I was just looking at it, and I got absolutely fucking eviscerated. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's good to look through, get all the information. You should look at the guy's Twitter account, but don't tweet about it while you're in the middle of your research the night of. Okay, got it. Lesson learned. But now people think that I said what Destiny said.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, hold on.
I would literally
stop all these shots, and I didn't even say like nothing anywhere close to that.
And I get that this isn't necessarily going to fly in your world, but it would fly in mine. I would literally tell them to stop being pussies. And the reason why is because the amount of people who laughed or made jokes or memes about George Floyd dying from overdosing and knee on his neck and all that crap. The amount of people who laughed at Jacob Blake getting shot in the back 9 times. The amount of people who laughed or didn't care about Paul Pelosi getting his head bashed in with a hammer, right? Like these things, it's like, and by the way, I'm not trying to say, oh, you're so bad for laughing at those things. What I'm trying to say is our instinct to laugh at people who are not a part of our tribe getting hurt, injured, or killed. It's a natural part of, the way that we operate. And it is what it is. I think on this stream, we've laughed about Hezbollah getting their hips blown off, right? In person, that would be fucked up, but it's Hezbollah. So fuck them.
Yeah, I mean, the go-to I use for that is Ryan Carson, because he was the lefty who was like a BLM guy, and he worked with like homeless black youth, and he got stabbed by a homeless.
Stabbed to death.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I saw Twitter that day, and they were like, "Oh, lol, this is what you get for voting that way." Haha.
Yeah, and this guy's defending his girlfriend from this, and like, so he's acting heroically. He gets killed in an ironic manner, and they make fun of him. And like, this is 1-to-1 the same as the firefighter who got shot, and you guys did not give a shit. It's fucking ridiculous.
It's something like we'll argue another day about this counterpoints, because I know you got to go. But I think that instinct, like, it is condemnable. And while we can recognize 100%. That some people, this earth is just better.
Hold on, you hate Hamas and Hezbollah. Why are you saying it's condemnable?
Just better. No, it is just better. But there's a difference between acknowledging that and making memes and making fun of it. And I think that while we can, we want a soldier who is willing and able to eliminate the enemy, but we don't want a soldier who gets off on that.
Yeah,
does that make
100%.
Sense?
Did you see that? I know we gotta go, but the woman that grabbed the soldier's rifle for the South Korean,
the South Korean promo for Korean insurrection, Fatal Instinct, the new movie they got coming out, right? No,
this really gorgeous, like, woman like grabs the rifle from the guy, and he doesn't shoot her, and the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, holy hell, that is a lot of trigger discipline. Like, if someone's touching your weapon and you're a soldier, like, they're authorized to take action on that. So I don't know. I thought that showed a lot of restraint, and I respected that.
I do to a certain degree as well. It's South Korea. We're gonna have to do another time. But basically, there was like an attempted coup, and then it failed almost instantaneously.
Yeah.
So Cameraman 502 for $5. Lois Lerner was the IRS scandal that illegally targeted Tea Party nonprofits and then covered it up. Okay, something else to research. Thank you. Anatalope says, here's $2 to outdo Satan Gray because he's evil. True. Thank you for that. Whenever I see Satan, I just assume it's like a teenage LARP that never ended. AD for $2. Missile warning system, flare chaff system, guys. If you're donating that to us, and that's fantastic. All right, Rises. This is the last dono, and then we're going to wrap up. Rises for $5. Did Tiny reaching each to the other side a la Peterson Ben meaningfully change the media narrative? It changed the media narrative about Destiny. I'll tell you that.
More people were willing to listen to him, yes.
There were a lot of centrists and conservatives who were willing to listen to him as a result of him having an amicable debate and conversation with Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson, 100%.
I mean,
and he would be more effective. What's that?
I don't know if it was, because if you watch the Ben Shapiro debate, he like softballed him, because I know Destiny can go harder than that, but he softballed him, and that was like,
listen, it's Ben Shapiro, man.
it was a very cordial conversation between two people who mostly agreed, right? And then you watch you watch the Jordan Peterson talk, and Destiny pushed back a little bit harder then, and then afterward Jordan Peterson was like, I'm never talking to that guy again. You got like butthurt. It's like, well.
Yeah, but
I don't put that on him.
Bad for that.
Yeah, right? I don't put that on Destiny. Yeah, I put that on Jordan. So, and the reason why I put it on Jordan Peterson is because he used to always talk about like the diversity of ideas and how we need to have multiple people with multiple perspectives all pushing together in order to create like this cornucopia of like discourse and all this kind of crap. And then you get pushback from like, I agree with him. Like, what did Jordan Peterson said? He said that Destiny has like a Luciferian need to like worship his own intellect. Like, I agree with that. But at the same time, like, that doesn't mean he's not smart. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have good insights. And just because you're off put by his ego doesn't mean that he doesn't have something interesting to say.
I just preferred him before the Benzos, man.
I agree. I agree 100%. All right, 2 more just came through. We're going to sneak them in. Audacity for $5. One more because I know your honor forced you to read it. Lol, laugh my ass off.
Thank you, Audacity. You're very sweet.
And then Satan Gray for $5. It was a military nickname, Marine Artillery Reserves. Interesting. If that was for the RD-47?
So,
yeah.
Wick, if we made this much money from Super Chats tonight, like, what kind of Porsche are you getting from your stream last night? Do you know yet?
Man, look, I made about $500 overall, right?
Okay.
Still good.
Not a bad night. Okay.
$500. You could get a Porsche GT3 Carrera without.
That's the same amount I made for shaving my beard. So
are we talking about like a Hot Wheel? What are we we about? Like,
yeah,
there's no Porsche that you can
GT Carrera.
I can get a Cybertruck.
Yeah. Why did you shave your beard?
Someone
gave him $500.
I will give you $500 to save your beard live on stream, and I was like, okay.
Wow.
Well, to be fair, last year I got a mohawk for $500. So yeah.
Man, I'm gonna D them to the I know you guys gotta go, but I'm curious. Counterpoints. What you? And I'll just send this to you in DMs. I saw this, and this is the kind of thing I'm talking about when I'm talking about like we gotta figure out a way to punish that somehow because that's fucked up.
What?
For those who don't know, Taylor Lorenz tweeted out today the name of Kim A-Keck, the CEO
Cross
of
Blue Shield.
Right after the
That's insane.
Okay.
Hold up.
Taylor,
is that not
what's going on?
I'm gonna sweep for
kill
Taylor.
someone,
I'm gonna sweep for Taylor just a little bit, and I'm not gonna justify this. I'm just going to, as someone who knows her, I'm going to explain what she's thinking, which is there's stuff that's happened in her life that has caused her family to deal with insurance companies and has really impacted her life in a serious way. She can tell her own story with that, but it is just an animal anger from hurt. It is.
But that is mad childish. And by the way, like Taylor Lorenz,
explaining it.
I get it. So hold on. This is So for those of you who aren't able to see what we're seeing, Taylor Lorenz tweeted out the CEO of a different health insurance company, the obvious implication being that this is a health insurance company that she's dealt with, therefore somebody should walk up to that person and gun them down in the street. Now, here's the thing, is correct me if I'm wrong, hasn't Taylor Lorenz been employed in like mainstream media?
She was, and she just went indie. Which is,
you know what? Never mind. She can do whatever she wants.
The
reason I'm saying that is because I'm going to tweet the N-word with an A later. You know what? So good for the goose, good for the gander. Okay, if Destiny's allowed to say it, then Taylor Lorenz is allowed to say it. But that is a wild statement. And if she starts crying about getting negative attention, I don't want to hear it.
Well, there we go.
All right, good save. So, and Antelope, the Mexican military gives some funny nicknames. Excellent. Well, thank you for saving us, Antelope. All right, so there's 130 people.
Okay, Christian Valera said, Brianna, with all due respect, no one gives a shit. You said the same thing about Keffels. Look, my judgment is bad. I have bad friends. I am bad.
No.
I am a poor judge of character.
Hold up.
Look at the people I'm on the panel with tonight. So
true. So hold on. I'm gonna sweep for the sweeping. Okay. So So if I had a family member who had cancer and had bankrupted my family and they had denied shitloads of different kinds of treatment that allowed my family member to get partial treatment that then caused them a lot of pain and then it bankrupted them and then they died after much financial, personal, and emotional misery, then making an edgy joke on Twitter about somebody getting shot is not like the end all be all. I'm not going to like clutch my pearls about it.
Right.
That being said, if she was a professional journalist, then I think she would deserve more shit.
People have done less to her that she's complained about more.
I agree. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying, like, this is not coming from politics where she's sitting down and saying, like, is my deep personal belief that we should
assassinate CEOs of health insurance companies.
I'm saying she is personally hurt and this issue makes her very angry. So I'm just saying that as someone who knows her.
I understand, and I know you're not trying to justify. I do, right? But even still, even if we can recognize it's coming from a place of hurt, anger, etc., I think we need to just universally condemn this.
Condemn.
100%, right?
That's like a Destiny tweet, though.
I mean, like, I condemn those too. Like Destiny,
that's like the white
mad at me
redneck
'cause I condemn
militia.
him so
That's
much,
like that's like the firefighter tweet. Like
Right,
that.
let's check in with Dev though, because he's a 2010 internet troll. Should we condemn Dev, or should we let this one go?
Or is that Giga Chad? Yeah, is that Giga Chad or
is it based?
I don't know. I got to think about it for a minute. I
yeah.
mean, if it made me laugh, then I always say let it go. But this one didn't really make me laugh, so
Yeah.
That's
So
the rule.
it's more cruel than it is funny. It's more cruel than it is funny. And here's the other thing too is so Taylor, not that she's gonna watch this or anything, but she needs to roll with the punches now, right? If you're throwing elbows like that in public, you got to be ready to take some hits. You can't be talking about people getting murdered and then like somebody calls you like a Karen or something, and then you're like, oh my God, the sexism. Like, you can't do that. You got to take your hits.
She has a previous history of kind of being ridiculous in that way, so she's not going to be rolling with any punches.
Oh,
I have faith in you, Taylor. I think you got it. I think
Taylor's
you got
a
it.
good.
Become a shit poster. Become a shit poster, Taylor. I believe in you. So, anyways, does y'all want to do some shout outs or some goodbyes or make any final points
What a
before we
great
kind of wrap it up?
episode! We all hung
It was
out.
fun.
Thanks
That
for
was fun.
inviting me, by the way. I was just in chat, like being like, I just finished my stream yelling about this CEO stuff, right? And then I was like, oh, you guys are streaming. I'll come check it out. You guys still haven't fixed me being able to raid you, by the way. Just
Thank
FYI.
you,
True.
Connor. Come on, don't be a dumb
But-
marine, man.
Talk
You
to
could have had
Taze.
100 more viewers, okay?
Actually,
Easy.
speaking of raids, I posted a currently ongoing stream in the private chat. Do you mind raiding that one when you're done? Because I'll be going over there as soon as we're done here.
Oh,
I'm on StreamYard. Can you wait?
I posted in the
Just do it on
StreamYard chat.
YouTube.
Yeah, I posted it in the StreamYard chat.
In our private chat.
I'll
No, it's
private
text it to
chat.
you. I'll text it to you.
Okay. Well, now I get to figure out how to
Yeah.
do
But
raids
just
via
a
StreamYard.
quick shout out that I'll make
Well, you can do it
tomorrow.
from YouTube,
We're
can't
having
you?
a deportation
Okay.
panel. Okay, it probably won't be as crazy as the one Counter was on, but we're going to be talking about the deportation plan of President Trump, or President-elect Trump, and how that may or may not go. We got some great guests coming on. We got Lactoid Gibbs. We got Big Papa Buckaroo. It's going to be fun. So check it out.
See, I understand how it is. I get to do NPR, but WIC TV not big enough for WIC TV anymore.
Look, if you had come last night and jumped backstage, I would have pulled you in.
All right, fair
That's
enough.
all you got to do. Okay, right?
Brianna Wu appears like a wild Pokemon.
Okay, that's all.
All right, ladies and gents. Deb, you want to shout? Or well, hold on. You want me to raid? So, do you want to shout it out just in case I have tech issues?
Sure. Yeah, I DM it to you in Discord as well.
So I'm gonna whore Dev's channel out. Okay, so everyone look at me. Okay, you go subscribe to his goddamn YouTube channel right this fucking second. Dev, what's the link to it?
It's ShortFatOtaku. Yeah.
ShortFatOtaku.
Yes.
Okay, I watch every video that comes out. Every single one is good. I learned something. I am the product of a Mississippi public school education, so I'm dumb as shit. So this is the way I learn about stuff. Go subscribe to his channel right now, or I will show up at your house.
I'd appreciate it because ever since the assassination attempt, I've lost I think 7,000 subs.
Oh my god!
Yep, dev stocks are down, man. I'm in the decline.
Uh-oh.
Rip.
You
All
know
right,
what? I'm
let
gonna get
me-
Aiden on my panel next.
Oh,
and
Oh my
one-
fucking
one-
god, that would be a shit show, and you know it.
One more.
No, it would
Read
make
this
me so
last
much
super
money.
chat. Read this last super chat.
All right, to the 120 people still hanging out with us, thank you for hanging out with us the entire evening. To the roughly 170 people total who came and hung out over the evening, thank you again. Please remember to like the stream before you leave, just because it helps us metrically, even if we are wrapping up. Also, feel free to, you did crazy super chats tonight, so don't even worry about it. Thank you to everyone, parasocial love. I'm going to kick everyone out of here just so I can focus on tech stuff, and then you might hear me silently figuring out how to do this raid bullshit. So,
Wait,
Wick
do you know
should
how-
be
Brianna,
deported.
you know how-
from,
wait.
Wick should be deported from shaving. Like that super chat is there. Look, Frank has.
Deb
a
wants to
VR.
say something serious, though. Deb,
Oh,
what?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so do you know how to rate on YouTube? Like, you know the process?
So right now, right now I'm on StreamYard. Okay.
Yeah.
Then if I go to YouTube, no, I have no idea how to rate. So,
Yeah, so
if I'm on
go
YouTube,
go to your YouTube. What is it called? The YouTube Studio. So go there. Go, and that says like under content, you have videos, shorts, live, posts, playlist.
Hold on.
live.
Now I'm logged into my
the
main
wrong
channel.
account.
Let me get to the right account. Give me a second. New Chrome. All right, everybody be patient. Rewind the VOD. Go find some memes from earlier. So hold on. This one I need to change.
How come you were doing that anyway with the sweeping anyway? Like you were.
Oh, because I felt like they were sweeping for Hunter.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm glad that it caught on. It's really funny.
It's insane.
It's good. No, not this one. God damn it.
All right.
So
I will let you figure tech stuff out. I gotta get.
Thank you.
Y'all.
I appreciate ya.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah, I should
points.
go too. Thank you for inviting me again. I love you all, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Parasocial love, bud. Have a good one. All right, I'm logging in. Now it wants me to do the two-step on. Dude, this is why I've never done it, because it's like two-step Gmail authentication. Hold on. All right, yes, it's me. All right, I'm verified. Continue. Sure. Not now. Please, God, just load. Thank you. All right, so now I go to YouTube Studio. Now what? Dev? Dev!
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
I was muted. Oops.
All right, I'm in the studio.
Right. So YouTube Studio, content. There'll be tabs, videos, shorts, live, posts, etc. Go to live. You'll have your currently going stream. It's there somewhere.
Yep.
And then I think there's a button to go to the control panel of the currently going stream.
Okay. What, like details or something?
Let's see. What is it? It should look like a broadcast symbol, like a dot with like waves coming off of it.
Sure.
You go there, and then it should open up. Yeah, there'll be like an edit button, and then I think there's like a place to do redirects under. Fuck, what
okay, so it says videos from your subscribed channels, counterfire live stream, and then redirect what? No,
just
search your videos.
Grab that URL that I posted to you, and put that as your redirect target.
Search your videos. Choose specific video.
Yeah, so that URL.
Oh, God damn it.
And see if that'll. And if it doesn't work, then the channel hasn't opened up redirects. So it'll be on their end. So don't worry about it. But it's worth a shot because I'll be going over there in about 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So for redirect, it's showing me my current stream, but then it's not giving me a place to do a URL in order to send.
Give me just a second, okay? Hold on. Yeah, so it says when you're in the redirect panel, it'll say choose specific video. It says search your videos. There should be a second thing that says search videos from other channels, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so just plop it in there. Plop the URL directly into that search.
Got it.
And you should be able to select it then as a target.
Save.
And if it works, then once you cancel the stream, or once you turn the stream off, it'll redirect.
Okay. Then thank you for showing that to me. To the roughly 110 people still hanging out, I appreciate your patience. Parasocial love to everyone involved. I hope you all have a beautiful evening. Bye for now.